Chapter 11:20. What? Kuroda was only a little startled and quickly cooperated with Kuroda, showing a surprised expression. This is absolutely true, Hayashi said solemnly. From the time when Otsutsuki Sarai was defeated by Nagato, he risked sneaking into the village to seize the Byakugan, and the words he leaked when he seized the Byakugan is not difficult for the brothers Hayashi and Richa to analyze that the purpose of Otsutsuki Samurai seizing the Byakugan is to evolve the Tenseigan. In other words, similar to the relationship between the Manjikyu Sharingan and the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan, there is a powerful pupil technique called Tenseigan above the Byakugan. Moreover, according to the motive of Otsutsuki Samurai, it seems that in order to evolve the Tenseigan, a pair of high-purity Byakugan needs to be transplanted. So Otsutsuki Samurai brazenly took the Byakugan from Hayashi as the head of the clan. Putting these clues together, the Hyuga clan, who has been in a fog, was both shocked and surprised. Shocked that their Byakugan still has so many secrets. Even the distant relatives of Otsutsuki on the moon coveted it so much, and surprised that the Byakugan is not the end. The Hyuga clan can also reach a higher level of pupil power like the Uchiha clan. Richa said with some excitement, Kuroda, as long as we can find a way to evolve the Byakugan into the Tenseigan, then our Hyuga clan can catch up with the Uchiha clan. In this war, the performance of the Uchiha clan once again overshadowed the performance of the Hyuga clan. Plus, the Byakugan was taken away by Hayashi. If it weren't for the fact that Hyuga is Naruto, the momentum of the Hyuga clan would have been crushed by the Uchiha clan. As soon as Richa's voice fell, an elder of the Zong family snorted coldly. Humph! As long as our Hyuga clan has the Tenseigan, those arrogant and conceited Uchiha are nothing. Hyuga didn't say anything and just listened quietly. At this moment, he was really curious about what the family was planning. Without arguing with the elder, Richa continued. Now, there are only two ways to figure out the secret of the Tenseigan. One is to recapture the giant Tenseigan belonging to the Hyuga clan that was stolen by Hyuga Aoki, and the other is to find a way to find Otsutsuki Samurai and take back the Byakugan. Another elder sitting next to Hayashi said angrily, It's all because of that damn traitor Hyuga Aoki. If it weren't for him stealing the treasures that belong to our family, we wouldn't have been so powerless against Otsutsuki Samurai. Hayashi frowned slightly. The giant Tenseigan belongs to the entire Hyuga clan. Realizing that he had misspoken, the elder coughed twice awkwardly. Yes, the giant Tenseigan belongs to the entire Hyuga clan. This time, the elder did not intend to declare the authority of the Zong family in front of Hyuga. It was purely because he was used to putting the Zong family first in everything, and he couldn't change it for a while. Kuroda lightly glanced at the two Zong clan elders as a warm smile hung on his face. Anyway, the giant Tenseigan of the Hyuga clan has fallen into his hands, and the black pot is carried by the dead Hyuga Aoki. He really has no reason to argue with these old men who are complacent. Hayashi said sincerely, Kuroda, you are now Naruto, and the power is in your hands. Whether the family can revive or not depends on you. Hyuga asked casually, What does the family want me to do? Hayashi said word by word, Capture Hyuga Aoki and take back the giant Tenseigan. After saying that, Hayashi, who was sitting on his knees, bowed his body and nodded his head to the ground. Please, please. Hisashi also knelt down without hesitation. The two clan elders hesitated for a moment, but finally lowered their heads, which they thought were noble, and bowed to the Hokage Kuroda, the Hokage. There is no doubt that in the face of successive blows, the Zong family has given up the fantasy of finding the giant Tenseigan alone. But now that the giant Tenseigan was stolen by Hyuga Aoki, and the Byakugan was taken away by Otsutsuki Samurai, the Hyuga clan has obviously fallen behind many strong enemies. So if they want to turn the tide and reverse the unfavorable situation, they can only entrust the task of finding the giant Tenseigan to Hyuga, who is currently the strongest in the family. In their opinion, although Hyuga is not the opponent of Hyuga Aoki, who has the giant Tenseigan, but after all, he is the fifth-generation Naruto of the village, and he can mobilize some of the power of the village, and he has a close relationship with Uchiha's man Jikyu, Uchiha Jishui. If Hyojin is responsible for this matter, it is not impossible to capture Hyuga Aoki and retrieve the giant Tenseigan. As for leaking the secrets of the Zone family to the Branch family, at this point, Hayashi, as the patriarch, can no longer care about these rules. If he doesn't actively save himself, Hyuga Aoki will come back to retaliate the next day, and his own family may be wiped out by Hyuga Aoki, who is not afraid of the cage bird curse. And although Hyojin is strong, he is still restricted by the cage bird curse. Hyojin rubbed his chin with some embarrassment and thought to himself, it turns out that the Zone family is still thinking about the giant Tenseigan, but Hyuga Aoki has already been killed by me. Where can I go to capture Hyuga Aoki? Seeing that Hyojin didn't say anything, Hayashi quickly said, I know that Hyuga Aoki, who has the giant Tenseigan, is strong and not so easy to deal with. But now that I have lost the Byakugan, I don't have the ability to capture Hyuga Aoki myself, so I can only leave this matter to you. Hyojin glanced at Hayashi. The strength of the patriarch Hayashi is actually not weak. As long as he is not dealing with a giant enemy, his soft fists and Byakugan are enough to threaten a Kaga-level expert. But in the face of Hyuga Aoki, who has the giant Tenseigan, it is obviously not enough. It can be said that if Hyojin doesn't take action, there are not many people in the current shinobi world who could take down Hyuga Aoki, and Hayashi is obviously not one of them. After a pause, seeing that Hyojin didn't say anything, Hayashi seemed to have made up his mind. In the future, if our Hyuga clan can find a way to evolve the Tenseigan, I promise you in the name of the patriarch that I will definitely share this method with you. The two elders next to Hayashi nodded with a tangled look on their faces. Although it is very inappropriate to share the secret of the Tenseigan with the Branch family, it is better than being killed by Hyuga Aoki or Otsutsuki Samurai. Richa also persuaded, Kuroto, now the family can only rely on you, and as long as you find the giant Tenseigan and find a way to evolve the Tenseigan, you can also go further and have more powerful strength. Hayashi said, Kuroto, don't you want to have the Tenseigan that is above the Byakugan? Hyojin smiled and said, Of course I want to. The first chapter is here, asking for recommendation votes. Monthly votes, there will be a second chapter later. Chapter 1121. After leaving the house, Richa asked Hyojin, I heard that the Uchiha clan made a great contribution in this battle. Yeah, Hyojin nodded. Uchiha Jishui, Uchiha Sasuke, went out of the village to stop the Akatsuki leader, and Uchiha Shinichi fought against the hungry ghost path Chilabai in my hospital. These are all visible achievements, and it can be said that in this battle, the three kaleidoscopes of Uchiha clan have all made a big splash. Richa's face sank. I also heard that when the Akatsuki leader fought against Otsutsuki Samurai, the Kage who were present hesitated and didn't make a move, but Sasuke Uchiha was the only ninja who dared to make a move against the Akatsuki leader at that time. Hyojin smiled. There is such a thing. In my impression, he was clearly a teenager of the same age as Ningxi, but now he has grown into a powerful ninja who dared to make a move against the Akatsuki leader. After a pause, Richa sighed. Kuroto, the three kaleidoscopes of Uchiha clan are too powerful, and the pressure is so great that we can't even breathe. This time, the Hyuga clan had its Byakugan snatched away, which is a great shame. I don't know how many people in the village are laughing at us, so there is no way out for the Hyuga clan. Hyojin smiled and shook his head. Hyuga and Hyuga mean that the burden of the Hyuga clan is too heavy, and they attach too much importance to their reputation. Now that the Konoha clan is in such a mess, except for the Uchiha clan, the other clans don't have the time to laugh at the Hyuga clan. What's more, it was Otsutsuki Samurai on the moon who took away Hayashi's Byakugan. In the village, apart from him, no one was a match for Otsutsuki Samurai, so it was not shameful for Hayashi to be defeated by Otsutsuki Samurai. Not only that, Hyojin also discovered that although Richa was usually very dissatisfied with his own clan, as long as something happened to his brother Hayashi, he would immediately toss all the injustice he had suffered beyond the 9 heavens and instantly become a supporter of his own clan. Fortunately, I'm here, Hyojin silently cursed. Richa probably wouldn't have thought that if it weren't for the existence of Hyojin, he would have probably died in the incident where Kyumo kidnapped Hinata, and his only child, Ningxi, would have also died in the Fourth Shinobi World War, causing his bloodline to be completely cut off. On the contrary, although Hayashi in the original world did nothing, Hinata's good vision saved the Hyuga clan, making the Hyuga clan much better than the miserable Uchiha clan with only Sasuke left. On the giant turtle island, looking at Naruto sitting cross-legged in front of the waterfall, Kakashi asked Moto, "It's been so long, is it really okay?" Moto said, "Don't worry, although there will be some risks in facing the real waterfall, but Naruto is an excellent Jinchuriki who mastered 9 tails at the age of 12 or 13. There should be no problem." Kakashi, who knew nothing about the real waterfall, could only nod his head. After returning to the land of fire from the land of water with Amitsukami Suijin, because his chakra was seriously damaged, he rested for a while in the land of fire, then directly used the flying thunder god technique to come to the side of Naruto and Fu. At that time, Naruto and Fu were secretly sent to the Cloud Village by Jiraiya, so Kakashi, as the representative of Naruto, temporarily acted as the guard of Naruto and Fu, because he knows very well that the goal of Akatsuki is the tailed beast inside Naruto and Fu. So, with the intervention of Amitsukami in my village, there shouldn't be a big problem, but Naruto and Fu, who only had some Umbu escorts, became a weak point. Once discovered by Akatsuki, it is very likely that both of them will lose their Jinchuriki at the same time. So he came to Cloud Village with Naruto and Fu, and was arranged by Cloud Village to stay on the giant turtle island. Although it is called an island, it is actually not a real island, but a giant turtle floating on the sea, the size of an island, hence the name Giant Turtle Island. This is also the reason why Cloud Village made such an arrangement, because the giant turtle can move freely on the sea, as long as they don't take the initiative to contact the people on the island, not to mention ordinary people. Even Cloud Village may not be able to find them. In addition to safety, the Giant Turtle Island is also a holy place for Cloud Village to train their Jinchuriki. Every Cloud Village's Jinchuriki has boarded the Giant Turtle Island and received the unique trial of Jinchuriki. It can be said that the general quality of Cloud Village's Jinchuriki is higher than that of other shinobi villages, and the Giant Turtle Island is the reason why. And the waterfall that Naruto is facing at the moment is a miracle that Cloud Village calls the true waterfall. As long as one sits in front of the waterfall, one can see the darkness in the depths of one's heart. It is a holy place for shinobi to train their will and sharpen their mind. Seeing that Kakashi was still frowning, Moto, who is in charge of the Giant Turtle Island, smiled and said, "You are the representative of Naruto. Don't you believe in the Jinchuriki of your village?" Kakashi shook his head and didn't explain anything. His face is not only worried about Naruto in front of him, but also because in the previous battle with the Mist, he finally confirmed that the mysterious person with the Manjikyu Sharingan in the Akatsuki organization is his best friend, the hero Uchiha Obsidian who died in the Third Shinobi War. Although he has pierced through Obsidian's chest in the Kamui space, he can feel that Obsidian is not dead, and he doesn't know how to explain this matter to the village. In front of the true waterfall, Naruto is panting heavily in a mysterious space, and in front of him, there's a Naruto who looks exactly like him, but with a fierce expression on his face, also panting heavily. The two of them have been fighting in this space for a while, but because their chakra, ninjutsu, strength, speed, and even tactics are exactly the same, there is no clear winner even after fighting for a long time. There is no doubt that the fierce expression on the face of Naruto is the dark side of Naruto's heart. Even someone as innocent as Naruto has a dark side in his heart, and what caused Naruto to have such a dark side is none other than the various cold eyes and harsh criticism he suffered in the village when he was a child. Looking at Naruto, Dark Naruto smiled and said, "I am you, you are me. You can't beat me." Naruto wiped the corner of his mouth with his sleeve. "I know. Our moves are exactly the same. Even if we fight until tomorrow, we won't be able to determine the winner, but there are still some differences between you and me." Dark Naruto said coldly, "That is impossible." Naruto suddenly showed a bright smile. Our dreams are different. Hey, don't look down on me. I, Uzumaki Naruto, want to become Naruto's man. Here is the second update, asking for recommendation votes, monthly votes. Also, I want to thank all the students who tipped me today. Thank you. Chapter 1122. Listening to Naruto's declaration, Dark Naruto's face suddenly darkened, and his red eyes revealed a fierce look. Naruto, that's ridiculous. Don't you remember how the villagers treated us? That kind of bone-piercing loneliness and pain, you can't have forgotten it so quickly, can you? That kind of villagers, that kind of village, what's there to care about? In Dark Naruto's words, Naruto recalled the scenes of his childhood. At that time, he was the fox demon that everyone in the village hated, and everyone avoided him. He had no one to rely on, no one cared about him, and no one cared about him. This loneliness and pain was so deep that he could not forget it. But his memory was not only about this pain. He also remembered Hyojin and Kuroto, who cared about him and treated him like family, Pharmacist Do, who patiently guided him, Red Bean, who was responsible for taking care of his daily life, and Orochimaru, who he thought was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. In addition, he also met many good friends and teachers who cared about him in the ninja school. Kakashi, Irika, Guy, Jishe, Sasuke, Ningxi, Sakura, Xiaoli, Shikamo, Ding Xiai, and other figures flashed through his mind one by one. And each of these figures was like a lamp with a temperature. The light of these lamps not only dispelled the darkness in his heart, but also dispelled the loneliness in his heart, so that his dark and cold heart was illuminated little by little and warmed little by little. Dark Naruto's feelings could affect Naruto, so Naruto's feelings could naturally affect Dark Naruto. The lights in his heart seemed to also illuminate Dark Naruto's heart, causing him to be stunned in place, and the fierceness on his face gradually faded. Plop! Moments later, Dark Naruto knelt on the ground and muttered to himself, "How can you still smile when you're in so much pain?" Naruto gave Naruto a thumbs up in the dark. I don't know too many principles, but Naruto-sensei taught me that as long as I'm alive, I can't give up easily in the face of suffering. Looking up at the optimistic Naruto, the Dark Naruto said, "What about me? What am I to you?" Naruto strode towards Dark Naruto, and then under the astonished gaze of Dark Naruto, hugged him. "Idiot, we are one." In front of the real waterfall. Motroy let out a soft sound of surprise. Kakashi and Hibiscus immediately looked at Naruto, who was sitting in front of the real waterfall. They discovered that Naruto, who had been sitting motionlessly, suddenly shook his body and stood up. Motroy smiled. It's a success. As expected of a human pillar who could subdue 9 tails at the age of 12 or 13. Hibiscus quickly went over and sized up Naruto's changes. She asked, "Naruto, what's your dark side like? Is it scary?" Kakashi also walked over and observed Naruto. Whether it was from the outside or from Chakra's senses, Naruto did not seem to have changed much after going through the real waterfall. However, Kakashi keenly noticed that Naruto's gaze was clearer than before, and he seemed more energetic. This was a feeling on the spiritual level. It could not be described with words, but it was so obvious that it could not be ignored. Naruto scratched his head and smiled. "We reconciled." Motroy was secretly taken aback when he heard this. Naruto could reconcile with his dark side so easily, which meant that the dark side in Naruto's heart was not too strong. This also proved that Naruto did have a sincere heart. Hibiscus tentatively said, "Is it so easy? Should I try to?" Motroy shook his head. "No, you're different from Naruto. You haven't controlled the tailed beast in your body. The probability of failure is too high." Motroy allowed Naruto to try because Naruto could control 9 tails. Even if he couldn't subdue the dark side in his heart, there was basically no risk of him going berserk. But Hibiscus was different. If something went wrong and caused the 7 tails to go berserk on Giant Turtle Island, the risk would be too great. After all, Lei Ying, who could suppress the tailed beast, was not on the island at the moment. As a ninja of Cloud Village, there was no need for him to take such a big risk for a human pillar of Takunin village. Hibiscus pouted, looking a little unhappy. However, she was actually a little scared of facing the dark side in her heart, so she secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Naruto smiled proudly and said, "So I'm so good?" Motroy walked towards the real waterfall and said, "Don't be too happy too early. This is just the beginning. The real test is coming next." After saying that, Motroy rushed into the real waterfall. Naruto, Kakashi, and Hibiscus walked into the real waterfall one after another and found that there was a huge cave behind the real waterfall. There was a building that looked like a temple in the cave. Looking at the murals of the huge eight-tailed ox demon and second last on the stone walls, Naruto exclaimed, "Wow, it's amazing." Hibiscus nodded repeatedly. "It's really spectacular." Kakashi's gaze fell on the 2 rows of headless stone statues in front of him, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. Noticing Kakashi's gaze, Motroy said, "You guys must be wondering why these stone statues don't have heads, right?" After saying that, Motroy did not explain further and directly led the 3 of them to a wall in the depths of the temple. He pointed at a relief monster on the wall and said, "This is the sacred baptism place of Cloud Village. If you want to enter, you have to stick your head into the mouth of this stone statue monster. Only pure and kind people can pass the selection." Thinking about the 2 rows of headless stone statues outside, Kakashi said, "Could it be that those outside?" Motroy nodded. "Those headless statues outside are all the pillars of our Cloud Village's failed candidates." Hibiscus covered her mouth, her face full of horror. However, Naruto did not look timid. Instead, he asked, "What will happen if we go in?" After pondering for a while, Motroy said, "I'm not too sure what it's like inside, but Chillabai and Uni have both gone in before. After that, they became the perfect Jinchuriki that can control tailed beasts, so it should be able to let the Jinchuriki obtain the true power of tailed beasts." Naruto asked, "Can I see 9 tails after I go in?" Motroy nodded. "Yes." Naruto did not hesitate. "Then I want to go in and take a look." Kakashi frowned and said, "Naruto, don't be impulsive." Moi also had a serious expression on his face. "Naruto, you'd better think about it carefully. Although you can obtain stronger tailed beasts by entering, if you can't pass the selection, you'll end up like those headless statues outside, dying a miserable death." This time, it was Cloud Village's intention to arrange for Naruto to undergo the trial. If Naruto could pass the trial, then there was no doubt that his strength would increase greatly, and there would be a greater chance of resisting the Akatsuki in the future. If Naruto died in the trial, then the most powerful tailed beasts, the 9 tails, would die with Naruto. Before the 9 tails resurrected, the Akatsuki would not be able to obtain the 9 tails. The 3rd chapter is here. I haven't been in a good state before, and it's been hard for me to update. So, I'm adding a chapter for the 7th Guildmaster, Leo. Once again, I thank Leo for his support. Thank you. Chapter 1123. Fortunately, my family and I haven't been affected so far, which is considered a blessing in disguise. However, I've had a really hard time this month. Even though basic food and drink are guaranteed, it's difficult to replenish some daily necessities. I've run out of snacks, skincare cream, coffee, vitamins, and even the earplugs I use to sleep during the day can't be changed. In the past, when there was a courier, I didn't feel that I was that reliant on it. Now that the courier has stopped, I realize how inconvenient it is to not have a courier. Other than the lack of daily necessities, the past month has also been a test for my mental state. At first, I was refreshing the news every day and tracking the latest news. It's only recently that I've gradually adjusted my mentality and stopped paying too much attention to these things. Because of these reasons, my updates this month haven't been very good. There have been a few days where I've only updated once. I would like to sincerely apologize to everyone and hope that everyone can understand my special situation. Today is already the 27th. Including today, there are only 2.5 days left in this month, so I sincerely hope that everyone can support me with your monthly votes. I'll try my best to update in the remaining 2 days as well. Don't worry about that. Chapter 1124. Naruto didn't think for too long. I still want to go in. I want to see the Nine Tails. He had always wanted to know why the Nine Tails were sealed in his body. He had asked many people, including his teacher, Hyojin, but he still didn't get the answer he wanted. Hyojin's answer was that he would know when he grew up. Therefore, he was very eager to know why the Nine Tails were sealed in his body, and why he had become a demon fox that was ostracized and reprimanded since he was young. Looking at Naruto's determined eyes, Kakashi weighed the pros and cons and finally nodded. There were two factors that prompted him to make this decision. Firstly, this was indeed a rare opportunity. If Naruto could really obtain the power of the Tail Beast and further control the Nine Tails, then Naruto's strength would be further improved, and he would be able to protect himself when facing the Akatsuki in the future. Secondly, Naruto was indeed the best human pillar he had ever seen. Even his master's wife, Kushina, could only rely on sealing to suppress the Nine Tails. She couldn't control the Nine Tails like Naruto could, not to mention that Naruto was only 12 or 13 years old. Of course, Kakashi didn't know that the reason why the Nine Tails would obediently cooperate with Naruto was because of the threat of the Akatsuki, and the reason why Hyojin had a peaceful talk with the Nine Tails while holding the truth-seeking orb. Soon, under Kakashi and Fu's nervous gaze, Naruto stuck his head into the mouth of the monster sculpture on the wall. Crack. After a while, just when everyone was at a loss, there was a noise on the wall. The wall beside the monster sculpture slowly opened, revealing a colorful space. Hearing the noise outside, Naruto quickly retracted his head from the mouth of the monster sculpture. Motroy said, "Naruto, you passed the test." Naruto pointed at the colorful space behind the wall. "Are we going in here?" Motroy nodded. It said that this space can reflect your spiritual world. After you enter, you should be able to see the Nine Tails sealed in your body. Kakashi asked with a serious face, and then, "I heard from Chillabai that the next step is to fight the tailed beasts." After a pause, Motoe looked at Naruto. "It's like a tug of war. If you can pull out Nine Tails chakra and inhale it into your body, then you can completely control the power of Nine Tails Tail Beast." Chillabai did this back then. Not only did he obtain the power of Eight Tails Tail Beast, but he also obtained the recognition of Eight Tails. Understood. Naruto immediately rolled up his sleeves and stepped inside. Motroy stopped Naruto. "Don't rush. If you want to obtain the power of Nine Tails Tail Beast, you still have to unlock the seal of Nine Tails." "What?" Kakashi's expression froze. Motoe smiled and said, "Don't worry too much. If it were any other Jinchuriki, there would indeed be a huge risk, but didn't Naruto get the approval of the Kyuubi? So, nothing will happen. By the way, what is the sealing technique that might use to seal Nine Tails?" The current Naruto naturally did not know any sealing techniques. He looked at Kakashi in a daze. Kakashi replied, "It's the Four Symbols seal." Motroy asked again, "Acting sir, can you unlock this seal?" "I can, but..." Kakashi was still a little hesitant. After all, there were too many variables when it came to unlocking the seal. Once the Nine Tails went berserk, he might not be able to subdue the Nine Tails alone. Motroy did not rush him. He just stood quietly at the side, waiting for Kakashi, the acting Naruto, to make up his mind. Naruto looked at Kakashi with a firm gaze. "Sensei Kakashi, please trust me this once. I don't want to hide every time the Akatsuki organization attacks the village. I'm also my ninja. I can protect the village too." Sigh. Kakashi sighed and said, "Then I'll go in with you." After walking into the colorful, mysterious space behind the wall, Kakashi lifted Naruto's shirt and revealed the sealing technique on Naruto's abdomen. "Naruto, are you ready?" "Yes." Naruto nodded heavily. Kakashi said no more and directly shouted, "Seal, unseal." In an instant, the scenery around Naruto changed. Kakashi, who was originally beside him, disappeared. Looking around, Naruto found that he seemed to be in a dark underground palace. At the end of the underground palace, there seemed to be an incomparably huge cage. Nine Tails, who was sleeping soundly on his forelimbs in the prison, seemed to have noticed something. He suddenly opened his vertical pupils and stared coldly at the intruding Naruto. Naruto walked over curiously and asked, "Are you Ninetales?" Ninetales bared his sharp fangs. "Brat, you have guts. How dare you come here?" "Huh." Soon, Ninetales found that the Naruto in front of him was different from before. He tried his best to perceive, but found that the darkness and resentment hidden in Naruto's heart were all gone. Seeing the seal on the prison door, Naruto jumped up and pulled off the seal on the seal. Ka ka ka. As the seal was pulled off by Naruto, the big lock behind the seal opened with a series of crisp sounds. After a while, the layers of seals that sealed Ninetales were completely opened. Ninetales in the prison was a little puzzled. "Brat, do you want to die?" Naruto replied. "Ninetales, I want to defeat you with my own hands and obtain the power of your Ninetales. After that, I will ask you some more questions." Ninetales narrowed his eyes slightly, and the expression on his face became more and more ferocious. "How dare a brat like you have such delusions? Since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish." Boom! In an instant, with a loud noise, Ninetales rushed out of the prison that had been opened. He raised his head and began to condense the Jade Tail Beast. Although he had promised Hyojin that he would cooperate with Naruto, it was mainly to save himself and prevent Naruto from being captured by the Akatsuki organization. Now that Naruto had taken advantage of him and wanted to snatch the power of his 9 tails, he naturally couldn't care less. Naruto didn't expect that 9 tails, who had been cooperating with him before, would be so violent. He didn't even say a few words before he directly attacked. Moreover, he instinctively felt threatened by the Jade Tail Beast, so he didn't dare to be careless. He immediately formed a seal and shouted, "Shadow, doppelganger technique." Bang, bang, bang. In a large cloud of white smoke, countless Naruto cooperated in pairs, pushing the Rasengan toward 9 tails. Show! The Jade Tail Beast condensed by 9 tails was also completed at this time, and it flew out with a sharp whistle. In an instant, it swept away a large number of Naruto's shadow doppelganger. Immortal technique, Great Jade Rasengan. Just as 9 tails was feeling proud, Naruto's shout suddenly came from above. 9 tails looked up and found that Naruto's original body had actually used the shadow doppelganger as a cover. Not only did he enter the immortal mode, but he also sneaked up on top of his head. Before 9 tails could think more, the Great Jade Rasengan that had been infused with the immortal technique chakra smashed hard on its head. The first update is here. It's the last 2 days. Don't forget to vote if you still have monthly votes. The first update is here. Don't forget to vote if you still have monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 1125. Boom, accompanied by a loud noise. Naruto's Great Jade Rasengan infused with the immortal technique chakra slammed into 9 tails' face, instantly knocking the huge 9 tails to the ground. Naruto fell to the ground and panted lightly. In the original time and space, because Jiraiya accidentally died in the Hidden Rain Village, no one could guide Naruto's immortal technique except for Fukasaku and Shima, the 2 non-human toads. Therefore, in terms of immortal technique, Naruto could only rely on himself to explore, so his progress was relatively slow. At the moment, because of Bai's personal teaching, Naruto's progress in immortal technique was lightning fast. In addition, the Rasengan was originally developed by 4 generations imitating the Jade Tail Beast, so it was extremely powerful. Therefore, after being hit by Naruto's Great Jade Rasengan, even 9 tails was a little confused. Seeing that 9 tails was beaten to the ground by him, Naruto immediately realized that this was a good opportunity, so he stirred up the chakra in his body and suddenly stretched out a chakra hand, pulling the tailed beast chakra on 9 tails' body like a tug of war. According to Cloud Hidden Moi, as long as the humans Jinchuriki, who accepted the test, pulled the tailed beast chakra into his own body, then he would be able to freely control the power of the tailed beast in the future. Swish! While 9 tails was stunned, Naruto smoothly pulled the tailed beast chakra out of 9 tails' body. 9 tails, who recovered, snorted coldly. In an instant, The chakra that Naruto pulled out of Nine Tails' body was contaminated by a scarlet red will of Nine Tails, and this pollution full of hatred and anger also extended all the way to Naruto's body through the chakra hand that came out of Naruto's body. Naruto was shocked. But before he could react, he found that the normal chakra on his body had also been contaminated by the will of the Nine Tails into the Nine Tails chakra, which was filled with hatred and anger. Then, the tailed beast transformation began to happen naturally. A blood-red tailed beast coat was draped over Naruto's body despite Naruto's resistance. Within the trial space. How did this happen? Wasn't Nine Tails very well behaved before? Seeing that Naruto, who was fine just a moment ago, had suddenly transformed into a tailed beast and was filled with an evil aura, Kakashi, who was guarding by the side, suddenly turned pale with fright. The reason why he agreed to let Naruto enter the trial was because of Naruto's excellent performance in controlling the Nine Tails. But he did not know that it was not that Naruto could really control the Nine Tails. It was just that the Nine Tails had given face to Hyojin. Oh no, if this goes on, I'm afraid Naruto will go berserk here. Without hesitation, Kakashi immediately formed a seal and cast the four-symbol seal, preparing to reseal the Nine Tails from the outside. But just as his hand was about to press on the seal on Naruto's abdomen, the tailed beast transformation on Naruto's body suddenly stopped. Looking at the half-tailed beast and half-normal Naruto in front of him. Even with Kakashi's agility, he did not know what to do for a moment. Almost at the same time, Naruto's consciousness broke away from the corrosion of the Nine Tails chakra and came to a bright and beautiful space of consciousness. Are you okay, Naruto? At this moment, a gentle voice sounded in Naruto's ear. Naruto suddenly looked up and found that the person who put his hand on his shoulder was actually wearing the familiar Naruto's Haori robe. So, he did not even see the other person's face clearly and shouted subconsciously, "Teacher, why are you here?" Ha ha! Suddenly, there was a burst of laughter from the other side. Naruto turned his head and found that the person who was laughing was a beautiful woman with red hair and a unique vitality. At this moment, Naruto also realized that the golden-haired man who was on his shoulder and wearing Naruto's Haori robe was not his teacher, Hyojin. So, he looked at the man and then at the woman with a blank expression. "Who are you people?" The handsome golden-haired man smiled. "Naruto, I'm your father." Without a doubt, the ones who interrupted the corrosion of the Nine Tails Narutos were none other than Naruto's parents, the 4 generations Naruto Wave Watergate, and the former Nine Tails Human Pillar Whirlpool Kushina. F.A. Father? Hearing this familiar but extremely unfamiliar word, Naruto was stunned. Watergate pointed at Kushina. "She's your mother." Naruto looked at Kushina. "Mother." Kushina quickly walked forward and hugged Naruto, who was still in a daze. "Naruto, you've finally grown up." Naruto was still in disbelief. Are you really my parents?" "Yes." Watergate nodded. He was finally able to reunite with his son, so he was a little excited. However, Naruto was still a little wary. "But why are you wearing teacher's Naruto Haori robe? This is a robe that only Naruto is allowed to wear, right?" Kushina smiled and said, "Because your father is the 4 generations Naruto in the village. When you were scribbling on your father's Naruto rock, didn't you take a good look at your father's face?" Kushina, who was living in Naruto's body in the form of chakra, could sense the outside world through Naruto's senses, just like Watergate. Therefore, she was very clear about the ridiculous things Naruto had done when he was young. Naruto sized up Watergate. Seeing Watergate's gentle expression, he muttered softly, "It doesn't look powerful at all. How could he be Naruto? Aren't Hokage supposed to be powerful ninjas like Sensei?" Unlike Naruto, who was 15 or 16 years old in the original time and space, he had more information, communicated with Kyuubi, and had various speculations in his mind. Naruto, who was only 12 or 13 years old at this time, knew nothing about his life and background, and did not know the reason why Kyuubi was sealed in his body, so he did not quite believe his parents who suddenly appeared in front of him. Bang! Kushina punched Naruto's head and lectured him. "Idiot! Your father is a very powerful ninja. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Naruto immediately hugged his head. Watergate scratched his head and explained with a bitter smile, sometimes the village will choose some young ninjas to act as Naruto. Moreover, it's rare to see a strong ninja like the 5 generations, even in Mai. Gradually feeling the sincere emotions from Watergate and Kushina, Naruto, who was only 12 or 13 years old, gradually had tears in his eyes. Are you really my parents? I have so many questions to ask you. Kushina tilted her head to the side and said, Naruto, I know what you want to ask, but before that, let's get rid of the Nine Tails first. Watergate also smiled and said, well, it's time to make it behave. As soon as Watergate finished speaking, the surroundings returned to the dark underground palace from before. Glowing chains shot out from Naruto's body and bound the Nine Tails tightly. At the same time, Watergate flashed to the top of Nine Tails' head, then pressed his palm on the top of Nine Tails' head and shouted softly, seal. Black sealing techniques flowed out of Watergate's palm. In the blink of an eye, they covered the whole body of Nine Tails. Together with the glowing chains, they firmly bound the Nine Tails. The bound Nine Tails roared, Watergate Kushina, it's you two damn guys again. Ignoring the shouts of Nine Tails, Watergate shouted at Naruto, Naruto, hurry up and pull the chakra out of its body. Looking at the Nine Tails being instantly subdued by his parents, Naruto was stunned for a moment before he reacted. Then, he immediately used the multiple shadow clone technique and pulled the chakra of Nine Tails together with his shadow clone. There's only 1.5 days left in this month. Those who still have monthly votes, please support me. Also, thank you to the students who gave me gifts today. Thank you, everyone. Chapter 1126. Under the joint efforts of Kushina and Watergate, Nine Tails couldn't move at all. Meanwhile, Naruto split into hundreds of shadow clones. Everyone shouted together and dragged Nine Tails' chakra out of Nine Tails' body bit by bit. Damn it! Seeing that his chakra was pulled out of his body by Naruto, Nine Tails was furious and struggled even more violently. Kushina and Watergate, who were suppressing Nine Tails, immediately felt the pressure and shouted together, Naruto, do your best. The couple appeared together this time. Other than to prevent Naruto's will from being corroded by Nine Tails, it was also because they knew that this trial was a heaven-sent opportunity for Naruto. They were actually very surprised that there was such a holy land in cloud concealment. With their vision, it was naturally not difficult for them to see the significance of this trial. As long as Naruto could successfully pass this trial and obtain the power of Nine Tails' tail beast, Naruto would no longer be in danger of going berserk in the future. Because of this, the couple did not hesitate to use up the last of their chakra and appear to help. Hurry up and come out. With the encouragement of his father and mother, Naruto exploded with all the strength in his body and violently pulled Nine Tails' chakra out of Nine Tails' body. Bang, bang, bang. The moment he successfully pulled out Nine Tails' chakra, Naruto's hundreds of shadow clones exploded one by one, turning into white smoke and disappearing. The chakra that looked like Nine Tails that was pulled out slowly floated towards Naruto's body. Then, it slowly merged into Naruto's body. Hua! In an instant, a brilliant golden light enveloped Naruto's body. Naruto was stunned. This is not only Naruto, but even Kushina, who was the former Nine Tails human pillar, and Watergate, who was Naruto's 4 generations, were shocked when they saw Naruto wrapped in golden chakra. Naruto, you damn guy, you've completely pissed me off this time. The furious Nine Tails tore the chains and seals that bound it and roared angrily at Naruto. Kushina and Watergate dodged to the side and looked at Nine Tails. They found that Nine Tails was still powerful, but after Naruto took away the power of Nine Tails, they had obviously lost a lot of weight and even looked a little emaciated. At this time, Nine Tails raised its head and condensed the tail beast jade again. This time, the tail beast jade was bigger than ever, even larger than the Nine Tails themselves. Kushina said in shock, "It actually has such power." Watergate shook his head. As expected of Nine Tails. After saying that, the couple looked at each other. After the consumption just now, the remaining chakra had been used up. However, in order to help Naruto subdue Nine Tails, they had no choice but to do so. Jushina looked at Naruto in the distance, who was covered in golden light, and sighed faintly. It's a pity that I can't have a good chat with Naruto. Watergate also had a deep regret on his face. Once the chakra was completely exhausted, the two of them would disappear immediately. Naturally, they would not be able to say goodbye to Naruto, who had not been reunited for a long time. However, just as the Watergate couple was about to go forward and seal Nine Tails, Naruto said to Nine Tails, who was condensing the tail beast jade, "Nine Tails, I have something urgent to do now. I'll have a good chat with you later. I'm sorry." Then, Naruto pressed one hand on his abdomen and twisted it gently. Swoosh, 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 Tori after Tori descended from the sky, starting from the tails one by one, and the last Tori was directly stuck on Nine Tails' neck, firmly fixing Nine Tails' head to the ground. Damn it! With a wail from Nine Tails, the huge tail beast jade that was condensing also disintegrated inch by inch, scattering all over the ground. It was obvious that Naruto, who had defeated Nine Tails in this trial and obtained the power of Nine Tails, already had the powerful power to suppress the Nine Tails in his body. His will would no longer be polluted by the Nine Tails and go berserk. Clang, clang, clang. Then, an iron door closed, and the Nine Tails that had been unsealed not long ago were sealed again. Seeing that Naruto had easily sealed Nine Tails, Jushina and Watergate heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, a gratified expression appeared on their faces. At this moment, Naruto came to his parents. "Father, mother." Jushina hugged Naruto. Watergate smiled, then immediately opened his arms and hugged his wife and child tightly. Just like that, the family of three, who met for the first time, chatted about their daily lives in this quiet space of consciousness. From Watergate and Jushina's meeting and love, all the way to the Nine Tails rebellion that broke out on the night Jushina gave birth. Jushina lowered her head and said in a heavy tone, "This is what happened. In order to protect the village and to prevent the Nine Tails from being stolen by the masked man, your father chose to sacrifice himself and sealed half of the Nine Tails in your body that was just born." Watergate looked at Naruto. "I'm sorry, as a father, I didn't take good care of you and let you bear all this. I know that you love me, and that's enough." Naruto, who had long been in tears, wiped the tears on his face and showed a smile. "Besides, I'm Naruto's son. Of course, I should bear the responsibility of father." Jushina stroked Naruto's hair. "What a good boy." Watergate nodded. "You didn't let us down. Now that you have mastered the Nine Tails chakra mode, you have surpassed your mother and become the strongest human pillar in the history of Mai." After talking, Watergate and Jushina already knew that Naruto's golden appearance just now was the Nine Tails chakra mode, which was stronger than Cloud Village's Thunder Escape chakra mode. Naruto suddenly asked, "By the way, father, mother, what's going on with only half of the Nine Tails sealed in my body?" Yamato explained, "You should have also felt it. The Kyuubi is the strongest of all the tailed beasts, so I sealed half of the Kyuubi chakra in my body and the other half in your body. If you have the chance in the future, you could try to break the corpse go seal and release my soul sealed in the body of the god of death to retrieve the other half of the Nine Tails chakra." Jushina said, "The corpse go seal is the sealing technique of our Whirlpool clan. You can search the ruins of our Whirlpool country to find clues to break the corpse go seal. If possible, you must find a way to release your father's soul. Otherwise, his soul will never be at peace." Naruto quickly promised, "Don't worry, I can definitely do it." Watergate didn't seem to care too much. He smiled and said, "Just try your best. Don't force yourself too much. There's only one day left in February. Those who still have monthly tickets, don't forget it." Chapter 11:27. Feeling that she doesn't have much time left, Kushina's face immediately sank. "Naruto, you must be careful of that mysterious masked man. He is from the Uchiha clan, and he also has the Man GQ Sharingan." Minato also echoed, "Well, The other party's space-time ninjutsu is very strange. You must not be impulsive when facing him. Naruto knew very well who his parents were talking about, so he nodded vigorously. I will definitely teach that bastard a lesson. After pondering for a while, Kushina said worriedly, also, you must be careful of your old. Halfway through her words, she saw Minato shake his head, so Kushina had no choice but to shut her mouth. Naruto asked, be careful of who? Minato took over the conversation and said with a smile, your mother wants you to be careful of your body. Even if you are a Jinchuriki, you must pay attention to rest. The person Kushina wants Naruto to be careful of is obviously Hyojin, who is both the fifth Naruto and the leader of Amatsukami. When Hyojin sneaked into Naruto's spiritual world and used the truth-seeking ball to negotiate with the Nine Tails, both Minato and Kushina saw it, so they know this shocking secret of the shinobi world. The leader of Amatsukami, which is recognized as the strongest organization in the shinobi world, is actually Naruto's sensei, the fifth Naruto. Hyojin's concern for Naruto is seen by the Minato couple, but the identity of Hyojin as the leader of Amatsukami still makes the straightforward Kushina feel deeply uneasy. Compared to the straightforward Kushina, Minato, who was once a Hokage, obviously had more considerations. After knowing the identity of Hyojin as the leader of Amatsukami, he was also shocked, and immediately he thought about the purpose of Hyojin secretly establishing Amatsukami. After combing through the previous actions of Amatsukami, such as attacking the radical faction of the Uchiha clan and suppressing the rebellion of the Uchiha clan, it is not difficult for him to guess the purpose of Hyojin's establishment of Amatsukami. Obviously, it is because of the existence of Amatsukami that the Uchiha clan, which was alienated from the village, was pulled back and once again integrated with the village. In addition, although he doesn't know how Hyojin became so strong in the shinobi school, but Hyojin is now the strongest in the shinobi world. The last time when Hyojin sneaked into Naruto's spiritual world to negotiate with the Nine Tails, he even felt that Hyojin had already noticed his existence. In the face of such a strong person, a word or two of Kushina's reminders are completely meaningless, and on the contrary, it will lead to conflict between Naruto and Hyojin. So far, Hyojin has not shown any malicious intent towards Naruto, and he even accepted Naruto as his disciple. Not only did he guide Naruto wholeheartedly, but he also personally helped Naruto suppress the Nine Tails. It can be said that Naruto's current strength is due to Hyojin's contribution. Combining these factors, Minato decisively stopped his wife from reminding him. Naruto said with a smile, don't worry, my body is fine. My chakra is much stronger than Sasuke and Ningxi. Kushina said with a reluctant look, Naruto, you can only rely on yourself in the future. Minato held his wife's hand and said with a smile, with Kakashi around, Naruto will be fine. Well, with Hokage-sensei, Orochimaru-sensei, Kakashi-sensei, Iluka-sensei, Sasuke, Neji, and other companions, I am not lonely at all. As if sensing that they were about to part, Naruto, who was originally smiling, started crying as he spoke. In the trial space, seeing that Naruto's tail beast transformation not only stopped, but also faded bit by bit, Kakashi was bewildered. He had no idea what was going on. Not long after, Naruto, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, suddenly opened his eyes. With just a glance, Kakashi noticed that there seemed to be something in Naruto's eyes. It was something that was difficult to describe, as if it was hope, responsibility, or relief. Kakashi asked, how is it? Naruto replied with a smile, Kakashi-sensei, I have obtained the power of Nine Tails. Kakashi immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Immediately afterward, Naruto suddenly asked, Kakashi-sensei, my father is 4 generations Naruto, right? In the blink of an eye, a week has passed since the Akatsuki's attack. Because of the strong support of the daimyo and several other great shinobi villages, Mai's recovery was very fast. In just a few days, there were no traces of war on the streets. Of course, this is also because the losses this time are far smaller than the last time. Last time, The village was hit by Nagato's large-scale Shinra Tensei. The entire village was destroyed. Except for some buildings on the edge, it was almost razed to the ground. This time, the village was just one of several battlefields. The most damaged battlefield was chosen by Hyojin in the forest dozens of miles away from the village, so it was much easier to rebuild the village this time. In the training field, next to the Uchiha clan, swish, 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 in a burst of wind sound, several shurikens hit the distant wooden piles one after another, and without exception, all accurately hit the small bullseye in the center of the wooden piles. Phew! After a soft sigh, Sasuke's face sank. He thought that as long as he took a good rest, his vision would be completely restored, but a whole week has passed, and his declining vision did recover a little, but it is far from the level he expected. There are no double images, but his vision is still blurred, so his throwing of shurikens is not as smooth as before. Covering his eyes, Sasuke whispered, "Damn it, why is it like this?" Until now, he didn't tell his family about his declining vision, because he was afraid that his parents and brother would worry about him, and also because of his strong self-esteem. In this battle against the Akatsuki, Sasuke had a lot of limelight. First, he participated in the assault team, which had almost all Kage-class strength, and forcibly delayed the Akatsuki for a few hours, buying valuable time for the villagers to evacuate. Then, when the Akatsuki leader Nagato was fighting with Otsutsuki samurai, he attacked Nagato. Although that sneak attack failed, no one laughed at him, because after that, 3 generations of Naruto, 3 generations of Tsuchikage, 4 generations of Liang, 4 generations of Kazekage, and Tsunade, Jiraiya, these 6 Kage-class, strong people besieged Nagato, but they were also defeated. In contrast, Sasuke is just a 13-year-old boy. At this age, he was able to face the Akatsuki leader Nagato, and even dare to attack him. No matter from what perspective, he can be regarded as outstanding. Therefore, in the week after the war, Sasuke was in the limelight among his peers. He was recognized as the undisputed #1 among his peers. For a time, he was in the limelight. Because most of his peers didn't even have the qualifications to participate in the battle, they were directly evacuated by the village, not to mention facing the Akatsuki leader. Swish! Just when Sasuke was secretly worried about when his vision would be completely restored, Ningxi landed on the field and said, "I knew you must be here." Sasuke instantly put away his worry and asked casually, "What's the matter?" Ningxi smiled and said, "Naruto and Fu are back safely. This is the last half of the month. Continue to ask for monthly tickets. Students who still have monthly tickets, don't forget, after today it will be wasted. Also, thank you to the students who gave gifts today. Thank you, everyone." Chapter 1128. Naruto and Fu are back. These days, Sasuke has been secretly worried that Naruto would fall into the hands of the Akatsuki. So when he heard Ningxi say that Naruto has returned safely, his face suddenly lit up with joy. Ningxi waved to Sasuke. "I heard that guy passed some kind of trial and his strength has improved a lot. Let's go, we'll talk about it on the way." Sasuke nodded, put away his ninja tools, and left the practice field with Ningxi. As for what Ningxi mentioned about Naruto passing some kind of trial and greatly increasing his strength, Kuroto really doesn't care much about it, because in his opinion, no matter how much Naruto's strength improves, it is impossible for him to be compared with him who has awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan. This has nothing to do with Naruto's effort. It is purely a matter of level suppression. After Sasuke and Ningxi left, 2 figures appeared on a big tree on the side of the practice field. They are Itachi Uchiha and Uchiha Jishue. Looking at the back of Sasuke leaving, Itachi said in a deep voice, "It seems that Sasuke's eyesight problem is more serious than we thought." Well, it should be because of the previous battle with the Akatsuki that consumed too much of his pupil power. Nodding, Jishue asked again, "By the way, did he mention this matter at home?" Itachi shook his head. "He didn't mention it. He is still hiding it from us." Jishue smiled bitterly. This kid's character is too strong. It didn't take long for Sasuke and Ningxi to arrive at the renovated ninja school. As soon as the two of them stepped through the gate of the school, they heard Naruto's hearty laughter from a distance. Looking in the direction of the sound, they found a large group of students surrounding Naruto, seemingly listening to what Naruto has to say. So they quickened their pace and walked over. You definitely don't know that Ninja Turtle is as big as an island. Not only there are many animals living on it, but there are also many strange places. Naruto told his classmates about his experience on the giant turtle island. His hands kept gesturing. Sakura curled her lips. How can there be such a big ninja turtle? Dinsey, who was eating chips, echoed, "Yeah, how much food does it have to eat to fill its stomach?" Naruto suddenly became anxious. "If you don't believe me, you can ask Fu. I'm not lying." "Huh?" Sasuke, who walked to the front, glanced at Naruto and suddenly let out a soft sound of surprise. The Naruto in front of him seemed to be a little different from before. After careful observation, Sasuke found that Naruto seemed to be more cheerful than before. Although Naruto was cheerful before, there was always a trace of imperceptible loneliness hidden in his eyes. But the Naruto in front of him was glowing, and there was no longer any haze in his eyes. At this time, Ningxi looked at Sasuke. Obviously, he also noticed the subtle changes in Naruto's body. Seeing Sasuke walking over, Sakura and Ino immediately greeted him and asked, "Sasuke, are you feeling better?" With his hands in his crotch, Sasuke directly walked past Sakura and Ino and said to Naruto, "Yo, you're finally back. I thought you were captured by the Akatsuki." As soon as he saw Sasuke, Naruto asked eagerly, "Sasuke, I heard that you had a big fight with the Akatsuki this time?" Sakura said with pride, "Sasuke, this time I fought with the leader of the Akatsuki." Sasuke smiled proudly. Naruto's face showed some regret and immediately clenched his fist and said, "Next time, I also want to fight side by side with you." Sasuke waved his hand indifferently. "You are their target. You better hide well. I can protect you." Naruto quickly said, "I have passed the real waterfall and the spiritual world trial. I have become very strong. If you don't believe me, let's fight now." Sasuke grinned. "Naruto, are you challenging me?" Naruto said confidently, "I just want you to recognize me." Sakura put her hand on her forehead and said speechlessly, "It's starting again." The two of them obviously care about each other very much, but for some reason, they always quarrel after a few sentences, fight after a few sentences, and then put their arms around each other's shoulders after the fight. Looking at Sasuke and Naruto, who are eager to fight, the surrounding students all tacitly stepped aside. Since the beginning of the shinobi period, it was normal for students of the same grade to fight with each other. Moreover, this was a newly renovated field, so it was spacious enough. Therefore, when the people saw the fight between Sasuke and Naruto, not only did they not feel strange, but they were also excited to watch the show. In their eyes, although Sasuke was the first in the same grade, Naruto's strength should not be underestimated, and his performance in the Chunin exam was also remarkable. On the crown of a big tree in the distance, looking at the energetic Naruto on the field, Kimimaro said slowly, "Uzumaki Naruto also came back safely. We can report to Orochimaru-sama." Haku asked, "Are you leaving Mai?" Kimimaro nodded slightly. "Orochimaru-sama asked us to stay, mainly to take care of Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto. Since the Akatsuki organization has been defeated, we should also return to the village." Yugo was a little hesitant, "But your body," Kimimaro said calmly. "Mai can't cure my illness, so there's no point in staying here. Not to mention that the people from the 5 great shinobi villages have been harassing us these days. I'm afraid that something unexpected will happen if we stay here." Haku nodded. Rock, Cloud, and Sand Crypsis haven't given up on finding out the identity of Amatsukumi's leader from Haku. So these days they sent people to talk to Haku from time to time, making him very annoyed. While they were talking, the fight in the field in the distance began. Yugo asked, "Who do you think will win?" Kimimaro said without hesitation, "Uchiha Sasuke has already awakened his Manjikyu Sharingan. Even if it's his Jinchuriki, I'm afraid it will be difficult to compete with him." Recalling Sasuke's Manjikyu Sharingan, Haku agreed with Kimimaro's judgment. "I think Sasuke will win." At this time, a loud bang came from the field. Sasuke was sent flying by Naruto's punch. But this wasn't the most surprising thing. The most surprising thing was that Naruto's whole body was wrapped in a golden chakra. Looking at the golden Naruto, Ningxi said, "What a strong chakra!" In his Byakugan's field of vision, Naruto was like a small sun. The powerful chakra almost filled his field of vision, making him dizzy. Sakura, who thought that Naruto would be beaten, was shocked. How is this possible? In the field, Sasuke, who fell on the ground, was also shocked. What ninjutsu is this? There are only 12 hours left in this month. Students who still have monthly votes, don't forget to vote. Chapter 1129. Sasuke didn't relax his training just because he had awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan. In fact, after suffering a series of setbacks, his training was even more rigorous than before he awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan. Because of this, the improvement of Sasuke's strength is not only in the Sharingan, but also in speed, strength, skills, and other aspects. But in the fight just now, he was surprised to find that Naruto has surpassed him in speed and strength, and he also keenly found that Naruto seems to have some kind of prediction ability that does not rely on the pupillary technique and easily defused his attack several times. Sage mode. No, the chakra on his body is obviously the tailed beast chakra. This is not a sage mode. Suppressing the surprise in his heart, Sasuke climbed up from the ground. At this time, Naruto said, "Sasuke, you have to be careful. This move of mine is called Nine Tails Chakra Mode. It is a new ninjutsu that I have just learned." Sasuke's face sank. "Humph, no matter what you have learned, in front of my Manjikyu Sharingan, it is nothing." Naruto is indeed his best friend. If it is in a dangerous battlefield, he will not hesitate to protect Naruto. But he can't say why. In front of Naruto, he just doesn't want to bow his head and admit defeat. Once Naruto shows the intention to challenge him, he will instinctively give a strong response. After slowly closing his eyes, Sasuke suddenly opened his eyes, revealing his Manjikyu Sharingan with a six-pointed star pattern. Hey, Sasuke has actually activated the Manjikyu Sharingan. Is he getting serious? There's a good show to watch. As soon as they saw Sasuke activate the Manjikyu Sharingan, the surrounding students immediately burst into an uproar. Ningxi on the sidelines was also a little surprised. He didn't expect that Sasuke would be so serious to the point of using the Manjikyu Sharingan in a small sparring session. But he soon felt relieved, and a solemn expression appeared on his face, because the Nine Tails Chakra mode that Naruto mentioned does seem to be quite powerful. After activating the Manjikyu Sharingan, Sasuke regained his confidence and said with a smirk, "You want me to be careful? Now I will use reality to dispel your ridiculous worries." Swish! As soon as he finished speaking, Sasuke's figure disappeared in a flash, leaving behind only a flash of lightning. So fast! On the sidelines, Shally exclaimed. Most of the students didn't even have the time to cry out in surprise. They just shook their heads and searched for Sasuke's figure. Swish! At this moment, there was another whistling sound, and Sasuke, who was surrounded by electric arcs, flashed behind Naruto, and his right hand holding the sizzling lightning also stabbed at Naruto. This is my real speed. Seeing that Naruto didn't even turn around, Sasuke was secretly proud, and the smile on his face became bigger. But just when Sasuke's right-hand Chidori was about to hit Naruto's back and was about to temporarily cancel the ninjutsu, two chakra arms suddenly appeared on Naruto's back, and each chakra arm instantly produced a shining Rasengan. What? Sasuke's pupil shrank, and it was too late to adjust his body to avoid the two Rasengans from Naruto's left and right, and Chidori in his hand could only block one Rasengan. Boom! A burst of explosion exploded on the newly built field. In an instant, a huge cloud of dust covered the field, blocking the vision of the students on the sidelines. What just happened? Who won? I didn't see it clearly at all. The students were all surprised and uncertain. Sakura's face was full of confusion. She hoped that Sasuke could win, but she didn't want Naruto to get hurt. Hinata's face was nervous, and his eyes were full of worry. In contrast, Ningxi on the sidelines was the calmest. But even so, Ningxi's face gradually showed a strange expression. Whoosh! Soon, a gust of wind blew, blowing away the smoke and dust on the field. In the field, Naruto, who was in the Nine Tails chakra mode, was full of confidence, standing with his hands crossed in front of his chest. Opposite him, Sasuke panted heavily, and a thin layer of sweat seeped out of his forehead. In order to deal with Naruto's two Rasengan, Sasuke had to activate Purple Lightning, using a wide range of purple electric thousand birds to barely block Naruto's Rasengan's counterattack. Damn it, I didn't expect this idiot to be able to instantly activate Rasengan now. After suffering a small loss, Sasuke realized that Naruto, who had obtained the power of Nine Tails and could activate Nine Tails chakra mode, no longer needed both hands to instantly activate Rasengan. With a gloomy face, Sasuke operated his Manjikyu Sharingan to observe Naruto and secretly analyzed. I clearly launched the attack in the blind spot of his vision. How did he see through my attack trajectory? Is it prediction? No. How could an idiot like him accurately predict my attack? He must have mastered some kind of perception ability that doesn't require vision. In just a short fight, Sasuke analyzed a lot of information about Naruto's Nine Tails chakra mode, but he couldn't find the flaws in Naruto's Nine Tails chakra mode. Whether it's speed, strength, or that kind of special perception ability, they all make him feel extremely tricky. And in the case of Naruto, not entering Sage mode or Tail Beast transformation, it is obviously impossible for Sasuke to use Manjikyu Sharingan techniques like Susu. This is not because he cherishes his own pupil power, but because he feels that it is very embarrassing to be forced to use Manjikyu Sharingan techniques by Naruto, who is not in Sage mode and Tail Beast transformation. Naruto, with his hands crossed in front of his chest, said at this time, "Sasuke, I'm going to attack." Sasuke snorted coldly. "Cut the crap." Naruto stopped talking nonsense and immediately rushed to Sasuke. Whoosh! With a scream, Naruto, in Nine Tails chakra mode, instantly rushed in front of Sasuke. His speed was so fast that even Sasuke, who has Manjikyu Sharingan, was taken aback. At this moment, Sasuke found that he couldn't avoid it. If he didn't use the Manjikyu Sharingan technique, he may be defeated in front of a group of his peers. Under such pressure, he could no longer care about anything else and directly launch Susanoo. In an instant, a purple phantom was projected from his body and quickly transformed into a row of bones, blocking a Rasengan that Naruto smashed head-on. Boom! There was another explosion on the playground, and Sasuke, who was forced to use Susanoo, was a little angry and said, "I lost to Kirin, I lost to my brother, I lost to the Hungry Ghost Path, I lost to the Akatsuki organization's leader. How can I lose to this idiot Naruto? Never." The second update is here. It's a new March. I hope everything will improve in this month. Thank you to the students who voted and supported me last month. Thank you, everyone. New month, please guarantee the monthly vote. Chapter 11:30. While Sasuke was furious, the Susanoo, shrouding him, gradually turned from a beginner skeleton to a fully armored half-body with a bow and an arrow. Suddenly, a huge purple Susanoo appeared in front of everyone, standing on the playground. It can't be. Hey, this is too much. It's just a sparring match. How can Sasuke use the Manjikyu Sharingan jutsu? The students on the sidelines exclaimed one after another. Ningxi flashed to Hinata's side and said, "It's not safe here. We have to move back a little bit." Shikamaru also asked everyone to move away from the field. The Manjikyu Sharingan Susanoo is not a joke. It has the power to shatter the sky and crack the earth. It's a jutsu that can cause a lot of casualties if one is not careful. Under the organization of Ningxi and Shikamaru, the students quickly retreated far away, leaving only Ningxi alone on the field. Such a commotion on the field naturally attracted the attention of the teachers in the school. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, a figure appeared next to Ningxi. Irika looked at Sasuke and Naruto on the field and asked Ningxi eagerly, "What's going on? Why are they fighting?" Ningxi quickly explained, "Irika-sensei, they are sparring." Sparring. Iruka was speechless as he looked at the field that had just been leveled by Sasuke and Naruto. On a branch in the distance, Kimimaro frowned and asked, Haku, is Uzumaki Naruto using Sage Mode? Haku shook his head. I can't feel any nature energy from him. It shouldn't be Sage Mode. Yugo also said, well, I also can't feel any nature energy. Then what ninjutsu is he using? After a pause, Kimimaro frowned even more. He can actually force Uchiha Sasuke to use the Manjikyu Sharingan Jutsu. Kimimaro recognized Sasuke's current strength. Therefore, he was surprised that Naruto was able to force Sasuke to this point, even though he wasn't in Sage Mode or Tail Beast Mode. On the field, Naruto, it's over. Because he has already used Susanoo, Sasuke no longer hesitated. At this moment, there is only one thing in his mind, and that is to defeat Naruto and defend the honor of the Uchiha clan. Seeing that Sasuke even used Susanoo, Naruto immediately shouted, How about it, Sasuke? You should recognize my strength now. Obviously, Naruto didn't intend to compete with Sasuke. The reason why he initiated this contest is to prove to Sasuke that he has the strength to fight side by side with everyone. Damn it. Sasuke's face became even more gloomy when he heard this. In this kind of situation, how could someone as proud as him admit Naruto? In his opinion, admitting Naruto at this time is simply admitting that he is not a match for Naruto. In the eyes of others, Sasuke is a proud son of heaven who awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan at the age of 12 or 13, and he's the undisputed number one among his peers. But only he knows that since the awakening of the Manjikyu Sharingan, he hasn't won a single battle. First, he was defeated by Kirin in the Chunin exam. Then he was defeated by his brother Genjutsu in a private duel. And then he was defeated by the hands of hungry ghost path Chilabai in Nagato. After awakening the Manjikyu Sharingan, the embarrassment of not winning this battle is like a thorn in his heart, making him extremely annoyed. Suppressing his annoyance, Sasuke thought about tactics. The faint tingling from the Manjikyu Sharingan in his eye socket reminded him that this battle should not last too long. So he can't allow himself to fall into a stalemate. He must end this battle quickly. Glancing at the sidelines again, Kuroto found that there are more and more onlookers. In addition to the first batch of students, the teachers of the shinobi school, the patrolling Umbu, and even the members of the Uchiha clan's police force have also heard the news. The more people watch, the more Sasuke will not allow himself to be defeated. So he made up his mind and shouted, Naruto, I won't be merciful now. You be careful. After saying that, he immediately urged his Susanoo to draw the bow and aimed at Naruto. Shio. Immediately afterward, his Susanoo shot an arrow at Naruto, stirring up a harsh scream in the air. The speed of Sasuke's Susanoo arrow is very fast. Even Hyojin in the Thunder Release Chakra mode cannot completely avoid it, let alone the unprepared Naruto. So, in the blink of an eye, the purple arrow has shot Naruto. Boom! There was a roar in the field, and the earth trembled slightly. At this time, the eyes of the people on the sidelines moved to Naruto's body. Everyone was surprised to find that the arrow of Sasuke's Susanoo did not really hit Naruto, but was firmly blocked by several chakra arms that stretched out from Naruto's body. And because the strength of the arrow was too great, under the huge impact, a large area of the ground under Naruto's feet collapsed. The cracks have extended for tens of meters, almost covering the entire field, and the tremor of the earth just now was caused by this. After blocking Sasuke's arrow, Naruto was not only not afraid, but also full of fighting spirit. As expected of Sasuke, I also have to go all out. With that said, Naruto launched the multiple shadow clone technique. In an instant, hundreds of golden Naruto appeared in the field, and each Naruto held a shining Rasengan in his hand. Looking at the scene in front of him, Sasuke's face stiffened under the Susanoo, and the corners of his mouth trembled. Before Sasuke could react, one by one, Naruto, who was pushing Rasengan, rushed up, and the Rasengan hit Sasuke's Susanoo fiercely. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, a series of roars resounded throughout the ninja school. Sasuke's huge was soon shattered under the destruction of Rasengan one after another. Pa, with a muffled sound, Sasuke fell to the ground, his eyes staring blankly at the blue sky, and his mouth muttered to himself, I actually lost to Naruto? There was also silence on the sidelines. After a while, Sakura rubbed her eyes and said incredulously, Sasuke lost? The third chapter is here. Still staying up late? There will be the fourth chapter later. Please guarantee the monthly ticket. Chapter 1131. While Sasuke and Naruto were competing on the playground of a ninja school, a high-level meeting was being held in Naruto's office. Taking off the pipe in his mouth, the three generations Naruto stared coldly at Kakashi and confirmed, the mysterious masked Uchiha in the Akatsuki organization is the Uchiha Obsidian who died in the Third Shinobi War more than a decade ago. Jiraiya on the side had an incredulous look on his face. The culprit who single-handedly planned the Nine Tails Rebellion and caused the death of Minato and Kushina is the Minato disciple Obsidian? In the face of everyone's questioning, Kakashi nodded with a lonely look. Now that the identity of Obsidian has been confirmed, he naturally has no reason to hide this matter from the village. So after escorting Naruto and Hibiscus back to the village, he reported this matter to the village. Just like the three generations and Jiraiya, Tsunade also felt that this matter is too strange. Not to mention that Uchiha Obsidian died in the Battle of the God Nobai Bridge. Even if he didn't die, how old was he at the time of the Nine Tails Rebellion? He was the same age as you and Kuroto, not to mention that he only has one Sharingan. How could he sneak attack the Minato and control the Nine Tails Rebellion? Zhuan Shaochun said. Did he awaken the Manjikyu Sharingan at that time? The possibility of awakening the Manjikyu Sharingan at the age of 14 is naturally ruled out by everyone in the past, but now with Jishuei and Sasuke as examples, it is not impossible for a 14-year-old Uchiha to awaken the Manjikyu Sharingan. Tsunade curled her lips and said, Don't you know what kind of results Uchiha Obsidian has in the ninja school? He is the last in his batch, the last of the last. He is not a genius like Jishuei and Sasuke, because Tsunade, Orochimaru, and Minato have all selected disciples in that year. Tsunade is very familiar with the situation of that year's shinobi students and knows the foundation of the Obsidian Shinobi. Zhuan Shaochun did not answer Tsunade's question directly. He just glanced at Hyojin, who was sitting in Naruto's chair without saying a word. Tsunade followed Zhuan Shaochun's gaze and looked at Hyojin. Only then did she remember that Hyojin, the village's Naruto, was also a strong competitor for the last place in that year's ninja school. He was almost on the same level as the Obsidian Shinobi, so she was suddenly speechless. The results in the ninja school are nothing. Hyojin, the current Naruto Shinobi, is the best example. Jiraiya frowned. The most important question now is why did he attack the village, attack the Minato, and Kushina? He is our Mai's hero. Kakashi replied weakly. Maybe it's because of Rin. Jiraiya asked, Rin? Is it that Noera Rin from your class? As the advisor elder in charge of intelligence, Zhuan Shaochun immediately recalled Noera Rin and said, If I remember correctly, Noera Rin's death was a conspiracy of the Mist Village. It has nothing to do with Mai. Although Noera Rin had died in Kakashi's hands, the reason was that the Mist Village had captured her and sealed the three tails in her body. They wanted to use her to destroy the whole of Mai. Therefore, in order to prevent the village from being destroyed in her own hands, she had used Kakashi's hand to commit suicide. Kakashi said, He's blaming me for not protecting Rin. Zhuan Shaochun was dumbfounded. What kind of reason is that? Tsunade frowned. There must be another reason. He is obviously the war hero of Konoha, and he is also the disciple of Yondaime Hokage. If it was just because his classmate died tragically because of the conspiracy of other villages, then he would retaliate against Konoha and his sensei. It would be illogical. Kakashi then said his speculation. Obsidian lied about being Uchiha Madara before. I suspect that he was saved by Madara Uchiha on the God Nobai Bridge and was bewitched by Uchiha Madara. That's why he did the wrong thing after that. Three generations sighed faintly and said, I didn't expect that the person behind the Nine Tails Rebellion would be the hero on the Soul Comfort Monument. After the Nine Tails Rebellion, the village had always suspected that the mastermind behind the scenes was the Uchiha clan. For this reason, not only did they move the entire Uchiha clan to a corner of the village, but they also launched a secret surveillance on the Uchiha clan. It was also from then on that the gap between the village and the Uchiha clan rapidly deepened. The hardliners led by Danzo even proposed to completely annihilate the Uchiha clan. Jiraiya looked at Kakashi, who was in a trance, and then looked at Hyojin, who was silent. Finally, he looked at Three Generations and asked, "What should we do now?" Three Generations asked Kakashi, "Apart from you, who else knows about this?" Kakashi replied, "Apart from me, the only person who knows about this is Suijin from Amatsukami." "That's good." After a pause, Three Generations said, "We will temporarily block the news." Zhuan Shaochun agreed. "Well, if the other villages know that the mysterious masked man of Akatsuki is also a ninja of Mai, we will be very passive. The fact that the leader of Akatsuki, Nagato, is Jiraiya's disciple has already put Mai in a very awkward position. If it is revealed that another important figure of the Akatsuki is also a shinobi of Konoha, moreover, he is a war hero whose name was engraved on the Soul Comfort Monument, then Konoha would lose a lot of face." Hyojin also sighed. This is the reason why he didn't expose Obsidian's identity, even though he already knew the Obsidian's identity, because exposing Obsidian's identity would be meaningless, and it would also cause Mai to lose face in front of the other villages. Some people might even use this to blame Mai, saying that the emergence of Akatsuki is all Mai's fault. Moreover, exposing Obsidian's identity will not have any positive effect on restricting Obsidian, because Obsidian doesn't recognize anyone, and using the Uchiha clan to threaten him is useless. In the original story, he even helped Itachi to destroy the Uchiha clan. It can be said that except for Kakashi, he doesn't care about anything in the real world at all. He only wants to create the illusory world in his heart. So even if he reveals Obsidian's identity, the result will be the same as now. The village will take the initiative to conceal it. After reporting about Obsidian's identity, Kakashi reported to the village about Naruto passing the trial on the Cloud Turtle Island. This time, Naruto not only got the power of the Tail Beast, but also mastered the Nine Tails Chakra mode. According to him, he also saw the chakra that the Minato sensei left in his body and learned about his life. Hyojin secretly sighed, as expected of the Son of Destiny. Hyojin's threat to the Nine Tails was obviously impossible to make the arrogant Nine Tails completely submit to Naruto. Therefore, under normal circumstances, if Naruto acted recklessly, he would most likely go berserk and become a puppet of the Nine Tails. Coincidentally, the Minato and Kushina had left a backup in Naruto's body, which helped Naruto survive this calamity, allowing the reckless Naruto to successfully obtain the power of Nine Tails. From then on, there is no risk of him going berserk. Fourth, I plead for a guaranteed monthly ticket. Chapter 1132. For chapters have been submitted, I implore everyone to support me with a minimum monthly vote. Thank you, everyone. The fourth chapter of Naruto's World in the Eyes of Reincarnation has been updated, requesting for a minimum monthly vote. Currently typing, please wait a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 1133. Naruto's mastery of the Nine Tails Chakra mode is similar to Sasuke's awakening of the Manjikyu Sharingan. It is a threshold of leaps and bounds in strength. As long as he can successfully cross this threshold, his strength will soar exponentially. Because whether it is speed or strength, Naruto's Nine Tails Chakra mode is not inferior to Kumo's Thunder Release Chakra mode. Moreover, Naruto's Nine Tails Chakra mode also has the endurance of a tailed beast, freely retractable chakra arms, strong perception of malice, and the ability to freely transmit chakra, and many other abilities. It can be said that in terms of comprehensive ability, Naruto's Nine Tails Chakra mode completely surpasses the Thunder Release Chakra mode that Laying has relied on to dominate the shinobi world in the past. In the entire shinobi world, only Hyojin's Tenseigan Chakra mode that can condense truth-seeking balls can firmly suppress Naruto's Nine Tails Chakra mode in terms of comprehensive ability. However, as long as Naruto crosses this threshold and takes the initiative in the confrontation with the Nine Tails, then with Naruto's character, it will not be a problem for him to completely reconcile with the Nine Tails. In other words, after mastering the Nine Tails Chakra mode, it is only a matter of time before Naruto masters the stronger Nine Lama mode. And in the Nine Lama mode, Naruto can mobilize all the Nine Tails Chakra and can easily use the Tailed Beast Jade, and can even use various ninjutsu, including Shadow Clone in the state of complete Tail Beast transformation. Moreover, the Nine Tails in his body would constantly refine chakra and even absorb the natural energy from the outside world to provide Naruto with an endless supply. In the original timeline, during his last battle with Sasuke in the Valley of the End, he relied on the Nine Tails' endless supply of chakra to defeat Sasuke, who had 8 chakra beasts. 3 generations. Naruto took a puff from his pipe and slowly said, "I, Naruto, have grown up now. It's time for me to know my own life experience. Kakashi, you are his mentor. If he has any questions, you don't need to continue to hide it." Kakashi nodded. Rumble. Just then, there was a roar from outside. Immediately afterward, an Umbu walked into Naruto's office and reported, "Naruto-sama, the noise outside is caused by Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto fighting on the playground of the ninja school." Zhuan Xiaochun frowned. What nonsense! Sasuke is Jiraiya's disciple. So Jiraiya quickly asked the Umbu, how did they make such a big noise? The Umbu was also speechless. In the fight, Uchiha Sasuke used a Manjikyu Sharingan Susanoo, and Uzumaki Naruto also used a powerful ninjutsu. Kakashi was taken aback. What? Sasuke even used the Susanoo? Hyojin wasn't too surprised, and asked casually with a smile, who won? All the advisory elders in the office glanced at Hyojin, feeling that the focus of Hyojin's attention is a bit strange, and in their opinion, Naruto obviously can't be the opponent of Sasuke, who has awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan, not to mention that Sasuke also used the Susanoo, so this question of Hyojin's is obviously superfluous. It was Uzumaki Naruto who won. After a pause, the Umbu added, and he won very easily. What? Jiraiya was quite surprised. Tsunade looked puzzled and looked at Kakashi. What kind of trial did Naruto experience in the Cloud Village? Kakashi was also startled. Obviously, he also underestimated the power of Naruto's newly mastered Nine Tails Chakra mode. Although the fight in the ninja school caused a lot of noise, but because it was only a fight between the same students, it didn't cause too much of a disturbance. However, after this battle, not only the same students, but also many members of the Mai Umbu and Uchiha police force began to be shocked by the growth of Naruto. Because this time, Naruto defeated Sasuke, who used the Susanoo with his own strength. And this battle has once again pushed Sasuke, the proud son of the Uchiha clan, to the forefront of the storm, of course, but this time it is not as full of praise as before. At night, Hyojin, who returned home after a busy day of work, can finally rest a little. You've worked hard. At this time, you brought dinner for Suijin. Hyojin ate the dinner Bell prepared for him and asked, "Where's Naruto?" Bell smiled and said, "He's already asleep. He's in the limelight today." Hyojin asked thoughtfully, "Didn't he say anything?" Bell asked curiously, "What did he say?" It seems like 4 generations didn't reveal my identity to him. Seeing Bell's puzzled face, Hyojin had an idea in his mind. When Kakashi said that Naruto and 4 generations met in the spiritual world, he had been wondering if 4 generations had told Naruto about his identity as the leader of Amatsukami. Because the last time he negotiated with Kyuubi, the Yandame-sama couple must have been watching in the dark. So not only did Kyuubi know about his identity as the leader of Amatsukami, the Yandame-sama couple should also know. And at this time, if his identity as the leader of Amatsukami is exposed because of this accident, the effect of intimidating Akatsuki will undoubtedly be greatly reduced, and it may even cause Akatsuki to immediately come back. In addition, once his identity is exposed, it will be difficult to collect the money from the 5 great ninja villages. After all, he is the village's 5 generations Naruto, the leader of Mai on the surface. If his identity as the leader of Amatsukami is exposed, then his business with the 5 great ninja villages will be finished, and his source of funds will be immediately cut off. At this time, sitting across from him, Belle, who was quietly watching Hyojin eat with her chin in her hands, suddenly said, "Hyojin, let's get married." But Hyojin, who was thinking about how much to ask from the village this time, spat out a mouthful of rice and sprayed it directly on Belle's face. Belle immediately pursed her lips, and her eyes overflowed with coldness. "Hyojin, do you have to overreact so much?" Hyojin wiped his mouth and said, "You misunderstood me. I just didn't expect you to suddenly say this, so I couldn't react for a while." Hearing this, the coldness in Belle's eyes became even more intense. "What? Have you never thought about marriage at all?" Feeling the killing intent, Hyojin's expression immediately changed. "Are you kidding me? I've been thinking about this for a long time, but I just haven't saved enough money." "Yes, it's the problem of money." Belle immediately returned to her smiling face and said with some embarrassment, "You don't have to make a big deal." Seeing Belle sneaking glances at him from time to time, Hyojin would not seek death at this time. He immediately patted his chest and said, "Must make a big deal? Do you think I'm a person who cares about money? Don't worry, there are a lot of things to do in the village. After this, I will marry you in a grand manner." First update, a new month, a new week. The rankings are updated, begging for recommendation votes, monthly votes. Oh, please. Chapter 1134. Regarding marriage, Hyojin has naturally considered it. After all, he and you are not young anymore. But because of the bloodline trap plan, the matter of marriage has been put on hold. This was because his bloodline succession dragnet plan was a very large project. It involves the cultivation of clones, the raising of funds, the design of rituals, and the development and perfection of forbidden techniques. Each of these tasks requires a great deal of effort, not to mention the fact that so many projects need to be coordinated and completed by Kuroto alone. Secondly, the bloodline trap plan has a huge risk. Even if Hyojin is constantly improving and revising it, whether the ceremony will be successful or not is still unknown. So he is subconsciously avoiding marriage, worried that you will inexplicably become a widow. Finally, the most practical point is that Hyojin hopes to get married and have children after he completes the bloodline trap plan. The reason is also very simple. If he marries you now and has children, then their children may spend their entire life to reach the 6th path level. But if he marries and has children after he completes the bloodline trap plan, then their children are likely to be like Kagaya's Otsutsuki Yuki and Otsutsuki Himura, starting at the 6th path level. Hyojin is actually very disgusted with this kind of thing, but he respects the objective facts more. Because in the shinobi world, whether you like it or not, accepting it or not, the theory of bloodline is a reality. The children of strong people are born with great power. For example, the sage of the 6 paths brother is the son of Kagaya. As soon as he reaches adulthood, he will naturally have the strength of the 6th path level. And the Otsutsuki Indra and the Otsutsuki Azura, who caused the shinobi world to be restless for thousands of years, were born with a powerful chakra that is far more powerful than ordinary people. They can carry on their grudges for thousands of years and fight endlessly. Even the Mai Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, who created the Mai clan, are the descendants of the sage of the 6 paths. They are the reincarnations of Otsutsuki Azura and Otsutsuki Indra. Without a powerful bloodline, the Kage rank was basically the peak. For example, Orochimaru, Minato sect, and other geniuses who did not come from powerful families. It was because of these considerations that Hyojin suppressed the marriage. However, he had already completed 5 of the 6 clones required for the ritual. The sixth Yang escape clone had also passed the most difficult cell fusion stage and was being cultivated in an orderly manner. The cells used for the Yang escape clone were the cells of the first-generation Naruto. With the terrifying strength of the first-generation cells, as long as there were no accidents during the cultivation process, there was no need to worry about the strength of the Yang escape clones. Because of this, Hyojin did not need to spend too much time and effort on the Yang escape clone body. He only needed to focus on fusing his spirit body with the Yang escape clone body. As for Hyojin, who had already developed 5 clones, his experience in this area was unquestionable. Therefore, he estimated that he would be able to complete the development of the Yang escape clone in 3 to 4 months. Next, it was time to choose the location of the ritual. This step could actually be carried out at the same time as the Yang escape clone body. Hyojin could control the Yang escape clone body to improve the fusion rate while choosing the location of the ritual. Therefore, the time needed for this step could be attributed to the 3 to 4 months of developing the Yang escape clone body. Next, it was time to prepare for the ritual. This preparation included 2 aspects. One was for Hyojin himself, and the other was for the Ghost Yarrow technique. Before Hyojin broke through the blood sequence net, he needed to completely fill up the Ein seal on his forehead with chakra so that it could no longer be stored. However, he had not reached this stage yet. He could feel that there was still a lot of space in the Ein seal. Next, it was time to cultivate the 8 inner hidden gates. Because he had been busy cultivating the purple lightning and lightning escape chakra mode, his 8 inner hidden gates was still at the 6th gate, the gate of view. Before the ritual, he still needed to break through the 7th gate, the gate of alarm, and the 8th gate, the gate of death. The Ghost Yarrow technique also needed to be optimized, especially the Ghost Sprout technique. According to the actual location of the ritual, he needed to adjust it accordingly to achieve the best effect. If everything went smoothly, 9 to 10 months should be enough for Hyojin to complete all the necessary preparations for the ritual. Seeing that Hyojin was a little distracted, Ling said, "I know there are many things going on in the village recently. You are Naruto, so I was just saying, there is no rush." Hyojin smiled gently and said, "Wait for me for a year." "A year?" Ling paused and nodded sweetly. "Yes." Hyojin seemed to have thought of something and said, "How is the mastery of the Ein seal? Why haven't you started cultivating it?" Ling answered, "I have almost grasped the Ein seal." Tsunade-sensei said that as long as I am more familiar with the chakra, I can try cultivating it. After thinking for a while, Hyojin said, "Soft fist, medical ninjutsu, whatever, you can put them aside for now. Focus on mastering the Ein seal." Ling was puzzled. "What?" Hyojin explained, "The essence of chakra is the fusion of our soul and physical strength. The Ein seal can store chakra, which is actually a disguised form of storing our life force. After your sensei's optimization, the Ein seal's effect is very perfect. So, after mastering the Ein seal, it can greatly delay aging and increase the strength of the body." The Ein seal's ability to maintain youth and delay aging was very exaggerated. In the original dimension, when Naruto met Tsunade for the first time, he already called her Grandma Tsunade. At that time, Tsunade was about the same age as Jiraiya and Orochimaru, about 50 years old. During the Boruto period, Mei, who was the same age as Kakashi, was already an aunt. But Tsunade, who was already 70 years old, still looked the same as she did 20 years ago. When the chakra stored in the Ein seal was not exhausted, there was almost no sign of aging on her face. Hearing that the Ein seal could keep one's youth and slow down the aging process, Belle sprang up from her seat and cried out in shock, "Is it true? But isn't the Ein seal a secret technique to store chakra? Tsunade-sensei didn't tell us that this technique can maintain youth?" Hyojin smiled and said, "Don't you think your sensei hasn't aged in recent years?" Ling thought for a while and said in surprise, "It's true. Tsunade-sensei hasn't changed much in recent years." After saying that, Belle ran away in a flash. Hyojin was startled and shouted, "Where are you going?" I haven't collected the bowl yet. Second update. Monday's update. Please recommend the list. It's no trouble at all, please. Also, thank you to the students who tipped me yesterday. Chapter 1135. Under the deep night sky, a figure surrounded by dazzling electric arcs flashed around the practice field next to the Uchiha clan's territory, making a burst of whistling sounds as the figure moved. There is no doubt that the person who is still practicing hard in this quiet night is Sasuke, who was defeated by Naruto during the day. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At this time, Sasuke, who was somersaulting in the air, shot a round of shurikens and then pulled with both hands. Through the traction of a steel wire, the shurikens that flew out changed the trajectory of the shurikens and hit several targets hidden behind wooden stakes or stones. After landing, Sasuke gasped heavily, and there was no joy on his face for hitting the targets. Suddenly, he covered his eyes with a painful look. Since the battle with the Akatsuki organization a week ago, as long as he used the Sharingan, there would be a faint tingling in the Sharingan, and today, after the battle with Naruto, he found that this tingling was getting worse. In addition, he also found that his vision, which had improved slightly, began to deteriorate again, blurred and double vision. The decline of his vision made Sasuke irritated and panicked. He couldn't help but think of the battle with Naruto during the day, and thinking that he was defeated again in front of everyone, he suddenly felt ashamed and angry. Bang, with a heavy punch on the big tree next to him. Sasuke looked ferocious. Damn it, I used the power of the Manjikyu Sharingan, but I still lost to Naruto. At this moment, there was a gentle sound of footsteps not far away. Sasuke looked stunned, turned his head and looked over, and found that it was his brother, Itachi, who was walking toward the training ground. So he quickly suppressed the tingling feeling and put on a look as if nothing had happened. And Itachi, who came to the training ground, carefully looked at Sasuke and found that there were still some bruises on Sasuke's face from the battle with Naruto during the day. Soon after, Itachi asked, "It's so late. Why aren't you resting?" As if trying to hide the bruises on his face, Sasuke turned his head to the side and said, "I just can't sleep." Itachi was silent for a moment before asking, "Is there something wrong with the Manjikyu Sharingan?" Sasuke immediately said, "No, my Manjikyu Sharingan is very good." Itachi said, "You're lying." Sasuke said angrily, "You don't have Manjikyu Sharingan. How would you know if there is something wrong with my eyes?" Itachi no longer said anything and slowly activated his Manjikyu Sharingan. This is... Staring at the Manjikyu Sharingan in Itachi's eye sockets, Sasuke was stunned. Itachi said indifferently, "The Manjikyu Sharingan is not only the gift of fate, but also the curse of fate. From the moment you open the Manjikyu Sharingan, blindness is an inevitable result." Sasuke was still immersed in the shock of knowing that Itachi also has Manjikyu Sharingan. Blindness? Itachi asked. "Your eyesight should have started to deteriorate, right?" Sasuke was shocked. "Brother, how did you know?" He has been trying his best to hide the secret of his eyesight decline. So when Itachi pointed it out, he was surprised. Itachi said calmly, "Because this phenomenon is not unique, every Uchiha who awakens the Manjikyu Sharingan will face a decline in eyesight due to the consumption of the pupil power." Sasuke asked nervously, "Then will I lose my eyesight?" Itachi nodded. "Under normal circumstances, as long as you don't continue to consume the pupil power of the Manjikyu Sharingan, your eyesight can barely be maintained, but if you continue to consume the pupil power of the Manjikyu Sharingan, blindness is inevitable." "What?" After being stunned for a moment, Sasuke said, "How can this be? If I can't use the Manjikyu Sharingan anymore, then what is the point of awakening the Manjikyu Sharingan?" Itachi sighed softly. "You always refuse to listen to me. I've already reminded you to use the Manjikyu Sharingan cautiously, but you still do what you want." Sasuke staggered 2 steps and muttered to himself, "Even with the Manjikyu Sharingan, I'm still not Naruto's opponent. If I can't use the Manjikyu Sharingan, then won't I never be able to catch up with Naruto?" Looking at the dazed Sasuke, Itachi didn't say anything and just stood quietly to the side. The reason why he didn't explain this to Sasuke at the beginning, but gave an obscure hint, is to teach Sasuke an unforgettable lesson, to let Sasuke personally experience the anxiety and panic of the decline of his eyesight, so that Sasuke can cherish the pupil power of the Manjikyu Sharingan from the bottom of his heart, and treat the power brought by the Manjikyu Sharingan with a more cautious and humble attitude. Not like now, impetuous, arrogant, and unscrupulous, squandering pupil power like a nouveau riche. Because in his view, it is the ninja who controls the pupil power, not the pupil power that controls the ninja. In his mind, Hyojin is a model in this regard. Obviously, his strength is superior, but he still remains gentle and humble. This is also one of the reasons why he regards Hyojin as his idol. Of course, the reason why he taught Sasuke this lesson is also because of their father's pair of Manjikyu Sharingan. If it weren't for this opportunity to fuse with the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, he wouldn't have watched Sasuke waste the pupil power of the Manjikyu Sharingan like this. After all, using the pupil power of the Manjikyu Sharingan, which can't be restored to by a lesson, is too extravagant. Brother, there must be a way to save it, right? Sasuke is not stupid. He quickly reacted. If the pupil power of the Manjikyu Sharingan can't be restored after being used, then his brother will definitely not let him make such an irreparable mistake. After pondering for a while, Itachi said, "There is indeed a way to escape from the curse of blindness." Sasuke asked eagerly, "What is it?" Itachi stretched out 2 fingers and said, "The first is to transplant the cells of the Hashirama, using the high-intensity yang release chakra in the Hashirama cells to fuse with our own yin release chakra to produce the power of yin and yang. Then using this power to nourish yin and yang to supplement the Manjikyu Sharingan's pupil power. Transplant the Hashirama cells?" Sasuke remembered that in the previous battle with the Akatsuki organization, Jishuei used the wood release ninjutsu on Chilabai and immediately understood that Jishuei should be using this method to supplement the pupil power of the Manjikyu Sharingan. Itachi's tone gradually became heavy. "But this method is very dangerous. With your current willpower, you will die." After the first method was rejected by Itachi, Sasuke panicked. Then, "What about the second method?" Itachi said calmly, "The second method is to fuse the Manjikyu Sharingan of the Manjikyu Sharingan and use the pupil power of 2 pairs of Manjikyu Sharingan to break through the limit of yin release and open the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan." Sasuke was shocked. Fuse the Manjikyu Sharingan of the Manjikyu Sharingan. Here's the first update. Please recommend it on Monday. Chapter 1136. Itachi's words suddenly made Sasuke's thoughts scatter. The way to get rid of the curse is to fuse the Manjikyu Sharingan of the closest relative, as he murmured. A chill spread from the bottom of Sasuke's heart. One must know that awakening the Manjikyu Sharingan is not an easy task. In the Uchiha clan, more than half of the Uchiha clansmen have failed to awaken the Manjikyu Sharingan. Therefore, it is an extremely difficult condition for 2 people who are related by blood to have the Manjikyu Sharingan. Moreover, fusing with the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan means that one of the closest relatives has to sacrifice the blindness of one person in exchange for the light of the other. After a while, Sasuke shouted, "Sacrificing one's loved ones in exchange for light. This is not a way to get rid of the curse at all. This method itself is a kind of curse." Itachi whispered, "Maybe." Sasuke rushed in front of Itachi and said, "Brother, you are omnipotent. You must have another way, right?" Itachi shook his head and said, "There's a price to pay for the acquisition of any power, and the Manjikyu Sharingan of our Uchiha clan is no exception. Now you should understand why I want you to use the Manjikyu Sharingan carefully." Sasuke fell into a state of annoyance and said, "I always thought that I was special, but I didn't expect." Reaching out and pressing on Sasuke's shoulder, Itachi said in a deep voice, "I have negotiated with them at Tsukumi. They are willing to return father's pair of Manjikyu Sharingan." Sasuke was startled and looked at Itachi in surprise. Itachi continued, Our family has 3 pairs of Manjiku Sharingan, which means that the 3 of us can put together a pair of eternal Manjiku Sharingan that will never lose its sight, and Father decided to give this opportunity to one of us brothers. Sasuke opened his mouth and seemed to want to say something, but he didn't know what to say. Itachi looked at Sasuke and asked calmly, "There's only one chance to obtain eternal light. Which one of us do you think should get it?" Fear, struggle, unwillingness, and various other emotions instantly filled Sasuke's face, causing his expression to be incomparably distorted, even revealing a hint of indescribable savagery. After a long time, he sighed. "Brother, I don't deserve such an opportunity." Itachi was surprised. "Why?" Sasuke smiled with relief. "Because you are the patriarch of our Uchiha clan, because you are better than me, because you are my brother." Itachi didn't say anything. He turned around and walked out of the training ground. Looking at Itachi's departing figure, Sasuke's eyes were filled with loneliness. He knew that he had lost the chance to obtain eternal light, and he had also lost the chance to compete with Naruto. At this moment, Itachi, who had already walked far away, suddenly said, "Get ready. The surgery will be carried out soon." Sasuke was stunned and shouted, "Brother!" Itachi didn't stop walking. As he walked away, he said, "Amatsukami won't return it for free. They will also arrange an additional test. Only if you pass their test will you be qualified to inherit Father's power and obtain eternal light. You only have one chance to do so." Soon, Itachi disappeared into the darkness, leaving only a dumbfounded Sasuke in the training ground. Inside the Sky Fortress, after dealing with all the affairs of the village after the war, Hyojin left a shadow clone in the village while his main body rushed back to the Sky Fortress floating above the sea. The first thing he did after returning to the Sky Fortress was not to check the development progress of the Yang release clone, but to carefully investigate the possible risk of exposure of the Sky Fortress. In the battle with Nagato, Hyojin used the soul descent technique to invade Tendo's body and used the identity of Tendo to resonate with the giant Tenseigan in the Sky Fortress. Therefore, at that moment, Nagato, who also controls Tendo, should also be able to perceive the existence of the Sky Fortress, and may even be able to perceive the general location of the Sky Fortress. In addition, the Tenseigan can resonate with each other. Since Hyojin can borrow the power of the giant Tenseigan on the moon, then Otsutsuki Samurai on the moon can also perceive the giant Tenseigan in the shinobi world. This point is confirmed by the fact that Otsutsuki Samurai was successfully led down from the moon by Hyojin and fought with Nagato. Therefore, Hyojin can't judge whether Otsutsuki Samurai found any clues about the Sky Fortress from the resonance between him and the giant Tenseigan. Xiang Lin reported seriously, "My lord, after there was an abnormality in the spare power room, we immediately moved the Sky Fortress according to your instructions and killed all the birds encountered along the way." Hyojin looked at the movement trajectory of the Sky Fortress while listening to Xiang Lin's report. The transfer route of the Sky Fortress was set by Hyojin in advance, basically bypassing all the islands and routes. And Xiang Lin also executed this plan very well. There were no mistakes in the transfer process. After checking the movement trajectory, Hyojin asked casually, "Did you find anything unusual?" "No." Xiang Li and Alo looked at each other and shook their heads in unison. "You did a good job." Hyojin then came to the spare power room where the giant Tenseigan was placed. After entering the power room, Hyojin carefully checked the giant Tenseigan. Because this fierce battle didn't consume much of the giant Tenseigan's chakra, so the giant Tenseigan is gradually recovering in a good state without being interrupted. Staring at the incomparably gorgeous giant Tenseigan in front of him, the corner of Hyojin's mouth slightly raised, it seems to be recovering well. As far as the state is concerned, although the giant Tenseigan has not yet recovered to its peak, it seems to have recovered at least 70% to 80%. If it is nurtured for another year, it should be able to recover to its peak state. At that time, it will become an important help for Hyojin to break through the Kekkei net. Immediately afterward, Hyojin rubbed his chin and said, "Just in case, it's better to add a seal. The current situation is a bit special. Otsutsuki Samurai has seized Hayashi's Byakugan and has the possibility of evolving into the Tenseigan. Therefore, in order to prevent this giant Tenseigan from resonating with other Tenseigan and exposing its tracks, it is necessary to add an additional seal to isolate this giant Tenseigan from the outside world. Although it will become more troublesome for Hyojin to communicate with the giant Tenseigan remotely after doing so, the safety of the Sky Fortress is always the first priority. After staying up all night, I was too sleepy yesterday. This chapter is the second chapter to make up for yesterday's chapter, and there will be today's update later. Chapter 1137. Of course, Hyojin doesn't think that this time Otsutsuki Samurai will evolve the Tenseigan smoothly as he did in the original time and space. Because he and Otsutsuki Samurai have the same judgment, that is, Hyuga Hayashi's Byakugan is not the purest and most powerful pair of eyes in the Hyuga clan. Hyojin Hayashi took advantage of the opportunity when he was appointed by Orochimaru as a medical aid during the Third Shinobi War to collect the genes of almost all the members of the Hyuga clan, and finally, with the genes of the Patriarch Hayashi, he was able to gather all the hidden gene sequences. In other words, the Patriarch Hayashi just happens to have the most key gene sequences missing in Hyojin's Geno solution, and he is not necessarily the one with the most hidden gene sequences in the Hyuga clan. Judging from talent, the current second daughter of the Hyuga clan, that is, Hinata's sister Hana, is the one with the most hidden gene sequences besides Hyojin. This point, Otsutsuki Samurai is obviously aware of. In the original time and space, Otsutsuki Samurai made an appointment with Hayashi, but he did not have the intention to take the Byakugan from Hayashi, which shows that Hayashi's Byakugan is not his first choice. It can be seen that Otsutsuki Samurai attacked the Hyuga clan and took away Hayashi's Byakugan because of the situation. Based on this, Hyojin believes that if Otsutsuki Samurai wants to evolve the Tenseigan, it will not be as smooth as in the original time and space. If Otsutsuki Samurai's luck is bad, and he and Hayashi can't gather all the hidden gene sequences, it may even lead to the failure of the evolution. After all, Hyojin's Geno solution is the essence of the entire Hyuga clan. Although Otsutsuki Tonari's bloodline is stronger, his talent is better, and he has more hidden gene sequences. One person is equivalent to 10 or 20 people, but with just him and Hayashi's genes, they may not be able to gather all the hidden gene sequences needed to evolve the Tenseigan. Even if they are lucky enough to gather them, Hayashi's Byakugan is not as pure as Hana's Byakugan. Therefore, the process of awakening the Tenseigan must be more dangerous than in the original time and space. Making up his mind, Hyojin immediately applied a 4-symbol seal on the giant Tenseigan and imprisoned the giant Tenseigan's instinct to resonate with other Tenseigans except him. Then, Kuroto mobilized chakra from a main power room where Shino S. Morio's Jinchuriki was sealed and poured it into the giant Tenseigan to further accelerate the recovery of the giant Tenseigan. After finishing all this and eliminating all the hidden dangers, he slowly walked to the laboratory. Because there was a shadow clone in the laboratory supervising the cultivation of the Yang escape clone, the cultivation of the Yang escape clone was very smooth and there were no accidents. Taking a closer look at the cultivation chamber, the cell tissue of the Yang escape clone was already in a state of rapid development. If everything goes well, maybe the Yang escape clone will be fully developed in a month. Taking out the experiment record, Hyojin wrote on it. The cultivation of the cell tissue is relatively smooth. The clone will be completed in a month. Perhaps it is affected by the first generation of cells. The cultivation speed of the Yang escape clone is about 30% faster than other clones. Whether there are any negative effects or not, further observation is needed. The clone has shown extremely high vitality during the cultivation period, and its strength is worth looking forward to. At present, it is impossible to determine whether the clone naturally has the wood release, but in the inspection of chakra, The clone's water attribute chakra and earth attribute chakra meet the requirements of would release. After finishing the record, Hyojin glanced at the cultivation chamber again. There is no doubt about the strength of the first generation of cells. So as long as the cultivation of this young escape clone is successful, its strength will inevitably exceed the strength of the ordinary clones. Now that the water clone has been further strengthened, the strength of the earth clone and the thunder clone are not low and can barely keep up with the wind clone and the yang clone. Only the fire clone, without the Manjikyu Sharingan, has become the weak point of all the clones in terms of strength. Walking slowly, Suijin arrived in front of the large nutrition tank containing the fire release clone. The fire clone in the nutrition tank has its eyes closed at the moment, and there is no expression on its face, quietly soaking in the high-level nutrition liquid that Hyojin has optimized many times. It only has the flame release bloodline limit. It seems that it is still not strong enough. Shaking his head, Hyojin took the fire clone out of the large nutrition tank. Then, he placed the drenched fire escape clone on the operating table and carefully examined it. Because the fire clone has been soaked in the nutrition liquid for most of the time, although it has been many years since the fire clone was cloned, the growth of its body is very slow, and it still looks like it's 17 or 18 years old. Not only that, because of the long-term nourishment of the nutrition liquid, the skin of the fire clone is very white and delicate, almost like a newborn baby. After confirming that there is no problem with the data of the fire clone, Hyojin took out a small nutrition tank, and a pair of scarlet Sharingan is floating in the tank. This pair of Sharingan is the Manjikyu Sharingan of Fuyue that Hyojin got from Itachi. The reason why Hyojin took Fuyue's Manjikyu Sharingan is because he has two plans. First, he wants to transplant this pair of Manjikyu Sharingan, which contains the black flame Amaterasu, to the fire clone to see if he can fuse the black flame of Amaterasu with a golden flame of flame release of the fire clone to further develop the flame release and enhance the strength of the fire clone. Second, he wants to use the fire clone to test Fuyue's Manjikyu Sharingan before giving it to Sasuke to fuse with the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. He wants to let Sasuke understand that this is a rare opportunity, experience the sacrifice made by Fuyue and Itachi, cherish the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, and restrain his arrogance a little. However, Hyojin doesn't want to completely wash away the sharpness of Sasuke. In the original world, after Sasuke was defeated by Naruto in the last battle in the Valley of the End, although he restrained his arrogance and sharpness, his strength has obviously declined. Therefore, Sasuke can't become a person like Itachi. Instead of suppressing his nature, it is better to let him maintain his sharpness, but this needs to be mastered well. After completing the Manjikyu Sharingan transplant, Hyojin used the Soul Descent technique to enter the body of the fire clone and then slowly sat up from the operating table. While adapting to the newly transplanted Manjikyu Sharingan, he jumped off the operating table and said to himself, "Maybe I can try to use the Ein Seal to enhance the physical strength of this clone. First, I'm asking for recommendation votes, monthly votes." Chapter 1138. Sky Fortress Practice Field. Hyojin, who was controlling the fire clone, quickly made hand seals and shouted, "Seal." In an instant, streaks of ink-colored sealing techniques gathered on his forehead from all over his body, finally forming a diamond-shaped faint purple pattern between his eyebrows. There is no doubt that this is the unique pattern of Ein Seal. Phew! After a light breath, the corner of Hyojin's mouth raised into an arc. The Ein Seal that he is using at the moment is not the version that he developed for both men and women, but the version that Tsunade recently improved for women. Perhaps because of the huge pressure from the Akatsuki organization, Tsunade hasn't been idle these years. In addition to guiding her disciples such as Mute, Kuroto, Uchiha, and Izumi-mi, she has been constantly improving the various medical ninjutsu and secret techniques that she is good at. The Ein Seal that has great potential naturally became the focus of her improvement. Because of her superb medical ninjutsu and her attainments in the human body's meridians, structure, chakra control, and other aspects are probably above the original developers of the Een seal, so the Een seal has undergone great changes in her hands over the years. Because Hyojin is Naruto, every time Tsunade improves the version, he can read it at will. So he is very clear that if it is limited to women, Tsunade's latest version of Een seal for women has surpassed the version that he improved for both men and women. And considering that the fire clone has a female body, Hyojin simply chose Tsunade's version. Coming to a specially set up mirror on the side of the practice field, Hyojin carefully observed the purple pattern on his forehead. Because the chakra is stored in his body, there is no repulsion. So even if there is no Een seal full of chakra, it still has a certain effect on the body. In other words, as long as the Een seal is successfully practiced, the strength of the body will be improved. As for how much improvement, it depends on the user's own physique and the amount of chakra stored in the Een seal. For people like Tsunade who have superior physique, the effect of improvement will undoubtedly be very significant. But for people like Sakura who don't have the Whirlpool bloodline, the effect of improvement may not be as exaggerated as Tsunade's. But even so, Sakura in the original time and space can still display the terrifying strength of Tsunade, and she can easily destroy a small building with just her fist, and she's just one step away from tearing the Susanoo with her bare hands like Tsunade. With his picky eyes, the strength of this fire release clone may not be too high, but in the shinobi world, this fire release clone is definitely the perfect body that many people in the shinobi world dream of. Coupled with the constant nourishment of high-level nutrient solution over the years, as soon as Kuroda mastered the Een seal, his body showed obvious changes. First of all, his whole temperament looks more mysterious and out of this world. Just standing there quietly gives people an unfathomable feeling. Then, because the Een seal has the effect of maintaining vitality and delaying aging, Kuroda's originally delicate and white skin looks even more translucent. Not only the external changes, but he also feels that the chakra in his body has become a lot more abundant because of the Een seal running through the meridians of his body. Pinching his chin, Hyojin looked at himself in a mirror and thought to himself, "Hey, how come the temperament has changed so much? Is it because of the excess Een chakra in the body of this fire clone?" Chakra can affect the body, spirit, and even temperament of a ninja. The simplest example is that the tailed beast can pollute the Jinchuriki through its own tailed beast chakra, causing the Jinchuriki's spirit to collapse and fall into a berserk state. Most of the Uchiha who has opened his eyes have a temperament that keeps people away from him. However, the temperament of this fire clone of Hyojin is a little special, like a black hole. It has a kind of attraction that makes people unconsciously pay attention to it and explore it. Coupled with the exquisite appearance, this kind of strange attraction is even stronger. TSK. What a good body to use Genjutsu. What a pity this kind of temperament and appearance that can make people unconsciously indulge in, if coupled with the sharp Genjutsu of the Sharingan, it will definitely produce an effect that is greater than 2. It is a pity that Hyojin's rational and pragmatic personality is not very good at building emotional Genjutsu. He is a mess in the field of Genjutsu and can only fool amateurs. If the Genjutsu masters like Itachi and Jishuei have this body, their Genjutsu strength will definitely rise to a new level. Shaking his head regretfully, Hyojin returned to the training field. After completing the cultivation of Een seal, the next step is to try to fuse the black flames of Amaterasu and the golden flames of flame release. Of course, this is just an idea of Hyojin's, whether it will succeed or not. He has no idea in his heart. Without hesitation, Hyojin instantly opened the Manjikyu Sharingan in his eye sockets. In fact, Fuyue's Manjikyu Sharingan also has obvious blurred vision. But considering that Fuyue opened his eyes more than 10 years ago during the Third Shinobi War, the maintenance of this pair of Manjikyu Sharingan is quite good. One must know that Sasuke has only opened his Manjikyu Sharingan for a month, but his vision has already deteriorated to the point where it affects his fighting ability. Gradually adapting to the blurred vision, Hyojin lightly stamped his foot, and a large golden flame instantly ignited around him. standing in the golden flame. Hyojin casually picked up a golden flame and played with it in his hand, thinking about how to fuse the golden flame of flame release and the black flame of Amaterasu into one. Amaterasu can burn everything, and my flame release has the ability to absorb chakra. If I can fuse them into one, and at the same time retain the strong endurance and the characteristics of absorbing chakra, then its power and versatility will increase to a new level. Thinking of this, Hyojin directly activated the Manjikyu Sharingan in his eye sockets and used Amaterasu on the golden flame in his hand. Whoosh! In an instant, in the center of the golden flame that Hyojin's vision focused on, a black flame appeared out of thin air. However, the black flame did not fuse with the golden flame, and the two quickly fought against each other. After a while, the black flame of Amaterasu gradually gained the upper hand, and bit by bit, it nibbled away at the golden flame in Hyojin's hand. As expected, the level of Amaterasu is higher. Quietly watching this scene, Hyojin's expression did not change, and then immediately snapped his fingers, extinguishing the black flame of Amaterasu and the golden flame of flame release in his hand. Here's the second update, asking for recommendation votes and monthly votes. Also, thank you to the students who tipped yesterday. Thank you, everyone. Chapter 1139. Judging from the first attempt, the black flame of Amaterasu and the golden flame of fire release are incompatible to a certain extent. Once the two come into contact, they will produce a strong repulsion, even if they are created by the same caster's chakra. It seems that a simple physical fusion won't work. After a little hesitation, Hyojin came up with a new idea. It is Hyojin's chakra that creates both Amaterasu and fire release. Since the black flame and golden flame can't be physically fused, then he can change his idea and try to fuse Amaterasu's pupil power with fire release chakra. Chakra fusion may be a very difficult thing to control for others, but for Hyojin, who has developed many Kekkei Genkai and even Kekkei Genkai elimination, this is not a difficult thing. After making up his mind, Hyojin first extinguished the burning golden flame around him, and then slowly closed his eyes. Immediately afterward, Kuroto opened his eyes abruptly, and the Manjikyu Sharingan in his eye sockets suddenly flashed with a subtle and restrained demonic light. This is the unique characteristic of the Manjikyu Sharingan when it is ready to attack. After mobilizing the Manjikyu Sharingan's pupil power, Kuroto stopped releasing the pupil technique at the critical moment, and instead refined the fire release chakra in his body, and then gradually instilled it into the Manjikyu Sharingan in his eye sockets. This step is actually very dangerous. Because the eyes are a very fragile organ in the human body, they're extremely easy to damage. Even a Manjikyu Sharingan is no exception, so if it was an ordinary person, they would not dare to try this at all. But Hyojin's control of the subtle parts of chakra is almost one of the best in the shinobi world. Coupled with his rich experience in chakra fusion, this kind of attempt that may seem unimaginable to others is very easy for him. With the injection of flame release chakra, the scarlet Manjikyu Sharingan in his eye sockets became even more beautiful. Feeling that it was time, Hyojin's eyes lit up, and he unleashed Amaterasu at a target in the practice field. Hua! A black flame suddenly appeared on the target, instantly engulfing it and burning it to ashes. Staring at the black flames scattered on the ground, Hyojin's face revealed a hint of surprise. Although the Amaterasu he released this time was still pure black flames, and it seemed like his attempt had failed, Hyojin's keen senses noticed that the power of the black flames had increased slightly. After all, the targets in the Sky Fortress practice field weren't just any cheap wooden targets. Hyojin had chosen to use high-quality solid wood, and they were equipped with steel frames. Although it was not difficult for Amaterasu to burn a wooden target, it was not possible to do so quickly. Even the steel frame of the wooden target had been destroyed in an instant. This meant that the power of the Amaterasu that he had released was slightly higher than the normal Amaterasu. It seems like my idea is correct. Although the appearance of the Amaterasu did not change much, and the increase in power was not significant, as long as there was a change, it meant that Hyojin's idea was correct, and he could continue to try. After getting excited, Hyojin immediately began a new attempt. The fusion of chakra was nothing more than the relationship between the primary and secondary factors, the fusion ratio, the fusion timing, and so on. As long as he grasped the pattern, he would be able to achieve the best results after repeated attempts. The only thing that was restricting Hyojin was the consumption of the Manjikyu Sharingan in his eye sockets. Because this pair of Manjikyu Sharingan was not in a perfect state, no matter how much he tried, the number of times he was allowed to try was limited, so whether he could complete the final fusion or not, luck was also an important factor in my village. At the side of a training field, Sakura complained, "Sensei Kakashi is too much. Ever since he sent Naruto back to the village, I have not seen him again. I don't know what he is busy with." Sasuke ignored Sakura's complaints and stared at the battle in the training field. At this time, in the training field, Ningxi and Xiaoli were working together to fight against Naruto. In the competition, all three of them were going all out, so the battle was very fierce. Even the few people standing at the side of the field had to raise their arms from time to time to resist the waves of air from the field. At this time, Tian asked Guy, "Sensei, who will win?" Sakura also looked at Guy curiously, looking forward to his answer. Guy shook his head, "I don't know. The cooperation between Ningxi and Xiaoli is indeed excellent, but Naruto, this kid, God knows how this kid became so strong." Listening to Guy's evaluation, Sasuke's face became gloomy again. In the field, Ningxi almost fully showed the sharpness of the Hyuga clan's soft fist, and Xiaoli even opened the fourth gate of 8 inner gates, Pain Gate. Between the two, Xiaoli's iron fist was responsible for the frontal attack, and Ningxi's soft fist was responsible for covering and precise attacks. Sasuke felt that even if he was on the field, if he didn't use the Manjikyu Sharingan's pupil technique, it would be difficult for him to deal with the opponent. But such a sharp combination, after encountering Naruto's Nine Tails Chakra mode, they still suffered. Ningxi's soft fist couldn't hurt Naruto at all. Sasuke clearly saw that Ningxi hit Naruto in the Nine Tails Chakra mode several times, but failed to penetrate the protection of Naruto's golden-tailed beast coat and seal the meridians in Naruto's body. And Xiaoli's iron fist was also difficult to pose a threat to Naruto, because even if he opened the fourth gate of 8 inner gates, Xiaoli still didn't have the slightest advantage in speed and strength. After the competition continued for a while, Niji and Little Lee were finally defeated. Both of them were drenched in sweat and gasping for breath. They couldn't even stand steadily. On the other hand, Naruto was still full of energy, showing the advantage of his Jinchuriki to the fullest. Ningxi and Xiaoli together are no match for Naruto. After thinking to himself, Sasuke, with his hands in his trouser pockets, turned and left. Seeing this, Sakura quickly asked, "Sasuke, where are you going?" Tian also asked, "Aren't you going to practice?" After thoroughly confirming the identity of Obsidian, Kakashi began to practice hard alone. So Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura were entrusted by Kakashi to Guy and temporarily followed him to practice. Sasuke didn't say anything and directly disappeared from everyone's sight with a body flicker technique. Looking in the direction where Sasuke left, Guy said, "Let him be. Geniuses are always a little loner." In fact, Guy knew very well that Sasuke was a genius ninja of the same type as Kakashi, and he had nothing to teach him. I'm asking for recommendation votes and monthly votes. Chapter 1140. After leaving the training ground alone, Sasuke walked on the streets of Mai, unable to calm down for a long time. Although his brother Itachi had given him the precious opportunity to have eternal light, he was still very resistant to this kind of light that was exchanged by sacrificing his family. When he thought that his father would never be able to see the light again, his heart was blocked and uncomfortable. And the scene on the training ground just now was constantly stimulating his nerves. He understood that if he did not obtain a stronger ocular power, wanting to defeat the current Naruto was completely a pipe dream. When he thought that he would always be suppressed by Naruto in the future, the unwillingness in his heart was like an erupting volcano, making it difficult for him to control himself. On one hand, he felt guilty for his father's blindness, and on the other hand, he was unwilling to lose to Naruto. These two strong emotions intertwined, making him feel both tangled and hesitant. Unknowingly, he found himself in front of the Naruto building. Why am I here? After a moment of hesitation, Sasuke was ready to turn around and leave. At this time, Jiraiya just came out of the Naruto building and saw Sasuke pacing in front of the building. So he went forward and stopped him. Sasuke, are you looking for me? Sasuke felt that he might have come here subconsciously to talk to Sensei Jiraiya, so he nodded. Seeing that Sasuke had something on his mind, Jiraiya said, "This is not the place to talk. Come with me." Soon, the two of them came to a remote, small forest in the village. Jiraiya asked with a smile, "Did you encounter something difficult to decide?" Sasuke was a little surprised. "Sensei, how do you know?" Jiraiya pointed at Sasuke's face. "Your thoughts are written all over your face." Sasuke hurriedly wiped away the confusion on his face and asked, "Teacher, do you have any way to increase my strength?" This time, it was Jiraiya's turn to be surprised. He looked Sasuke up and down, then laughed and said, "Hee, you're already very strong now." Sasuke shook his head and said firmly, "No, it's not enough. It's far from enough." Jiraiya put away the smile on his face and became serious. "Sasuke, at your age, you're already very outstanding. In the entire shinobi world, there aren't many people at your age who can be your opponent. Possessing the Manjikyu Sharingan at the age of 13 and being able to intervene in the battle between Nagato and Otsutsuki Samurai, this kind of strength is enough for Jiraiya to be proud of, so he doesn't understand why Sasuke is so eager to become stronger. When he was at Sasuke's age, he was still at the bottom of the shinobi world. Facing Jiraiya's gaze, Sasuke said, "But I lost to Naruto. I'm not willing. So it's because of this matter." After a wry smile, Jiraiya persuaded, "Naruto is your companion, not your enemy. It doesn't matter if you lose to him once or twice. You can win it back in the future. When I was a child, I couldn't beat Orochimaru even once." Sasuke shook his head and said, "I have a feeling that Naruto will only get stronger and stronger. I must master more power to defeat him. Otherwise, I will always be defeated by him." Jiraiya stared at Sasuke with a solemn expression. Sasuke's obsession to defeat Naruto made him feel a little uneasy. Obviously, he didn't know that it was not Sasuke himself that caused all this, but the chakra that originated from Sasuke's Otsutsuki Indra. As the reincarnation of Otsutsuki Indra, Sasuke is very reluctant to lose to Naruto, the reincarnation of Otsutsuki Azura. Therefore, this obsession to defeat Naruto was not Sasuke's own stubbornness, but came from a feud between Otsutsuki Indra and Otsutsuki Azura, the pair of brothers that had been fighting for thousands of years. After carefully weighing the pros and cons, Jiraiya shook his head and said, "Sasuke, with your current strength, there is not much I can teach you. Whether it was ninjutsu, taijutsu, or the use of tactics, Sasuke was already a rare genius among his peers, no, among all ninjas. He couldn't beat Naruto in the Nine Tails Chakra mode, not because he was weak, but because Naruto, who had been seriously trained by Hyojin and accidentally passed the trial of Giant Turtle Island, was too strong. Therefore, Jiraiya felt that what Sasuke lacked now was not strength, but stability. Sasuke ignored Jiraiya's worries and said bluntly, "What about immortal arts?" "Sensei, I'm ready. I want to go to Mount Myaboku and try to practice immortal arts again. If Naruto can do it, so can I." Jiraiya decisively rejected, "No, you can't practice immortal arts in your current state." Looking at the eager face of Sasuke, the worry in his heart grew heavier. He was afraid that Sasuke would be like Nagato, losing himself and going astray because of power. Sasuke was still a little unwilling. "How do you know if you don't try?" "Sensei Jiraiya, I'm different from before. This time, I will definitely succeed in mastering immortal arts. The more anxious and impatient you are, the harder it will be for you to practice immortal arts. After a pause, Jiraiya continued to advise earnestly. The previous failure proved that your talent in practicing immortal arts is average, so your attitude is even more important. If you can't maintain a calm and indifferent attitude, the more you try, the more dangerous it will be. As your teacher, I won't just watch you take the risk. Sasuke sighed dejectedly. Is there really no other way? Jiraiya looked puzzled. Sasuke, what happened? Sensei Jiraiya, I still have some matters to attend to at home, so I'll take my leave first. Because it involved the secret of the Manjikyu Sharingan and the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan above the Manjikyu. Sasuke didn't explain too much to Jiraiya. He directly bowed to Jiraiya and turned to leave. Looking at Sasuke's back as he left, Jiraiya's face darkened. On the way home, Sasuke faintly heard the whispers of the villagers around him. Before, when he was on the street, everyone would look at him with admiration and envy. Since he was defeated by Naruto, he would always hear people talking about him on the street from time to time these days. Although many of these comments were not malicious, they were simply surprised that he, the genius of Uchiha, had lost to Naruto. But when it reached his ears, it was extremely harsh. Damn it! Sasuke wanted to dispel these comments from his mind, but found that the more he tried to dispel them, the more he cared about them. At this time, he suddenly found himself in front of a ramen shop, and coincidentally, both Naruto and Sakura were in the ramen shop. Looking at Naruto, who was carefreely eating ramen, Sasuke secretly said in his heart, "Just admit defeat like this? Oh, this kind of thing, I really can't do it." Here's the second update, asking for recommendation votes and monthly votes. Also, thank you to the students who gave gifts yesterday. Thank you, everyone. Chapter 1141. Naruto, who was eating ramen, and Sakura also noticed Sasuke walking in front of the ramen restaurant. She quickly opened the curtain and waved at him. "Sasuke, come on, let's eat ramen together." Sasuke shook his head. "You guys eat, I still have something to do." At this time, Sakura rushed out and caught up with Sasuke. "Sasuke, what's wrong with you?" Looking at Sakura, who was concerned about him, Sasuke said, "Sakura, I may have to leave for a while." He knows that Sakura likes him very much, and he's actually somewhat attracted to Sakura, but compared with such trivial things, defeating Naruto and pushing the Uchiha clan to the peak is what he cares about more. Leave. Sakura was stunned for a moment before she reacted and hurriedly asked, "Where are you going?" Realizing that he had let the cat out of the bag, Sasuke quickly said perfunctorily, "Nothing, I just have some things to deal with at home." After saying that, Sasuke didn't say anything more and left without looking back, leaving only Sakura in a daze. Late at night, in the Uchiha clan patriarch's house, Itachi asked Sasuke, "Are you ready?" "Yes." Sasuke, who was carrying a backpack, nodded. Because it takes 2 to 3 months to integrate the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, so the surgery can't be carried out in the village, and he must leave the village for a while. Although he knows that leaving the village without authorization is equivalent to betraying the village, he can't care too much about it. After coming back, I will find a way to explain to the village, Sasuke secretly said in his heart, and immediately drove this worry out of his mind. Because what he needs to worry about now is not how to explain to the village, but whether he can pass the test of Amatsukami and get back his father's pair of Manjikyu Sharingan from Amatsukami. If Amatsukami refuses to return his father's pair of Manjikyu Sharingan because he failed the test, then he would really become a sinner of the Uchiha clan. Looking at his nervous brother, Itachi said, "Come with me." Sasuke quickly followed. Under the starry night sky, the two brothers passed through the quiet clan grounds one after the other. They crossed the outer wall and finally arrived at a remote forest outside the village. "You'll have to rely on yourself for the rest." After Itachi finished speaking, he didn't give Sasuke a chance to reply. His figure flashed and disappeared in front of Sasuke with the teleportation technique. Sasuke was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect Itachi to leave so decisively. He subconsciously wanted to catch up with Itachi and ask him clearly, but in the end, he suppressed this impulse and waited anxiously in the forest. In the distance, swish, Itachi's figure flashed and landed on the branch of a big tree. Beside him, there were two figures standing quietly. They were Jishuei and Shinichi, Uchiha's Manjikyu. Staring at Sasuke in the forest in the distance, Shinichi asked, "By the way, who will the organization send to test Sasuke this time?" Itachi and Jishuei both shook their heads. Hyojin only said that he would arrange a test for Sasuke, but the two of them didn't know who would do it. After all, there were many members in the organization, such as Winchime, Kamak Sitagarba Kamak Kurin, and Yangshin. Any one of these masters would be enough to be the chief examiner for Sasuke. Seeing the worry on Itachi's face, Shinichi curled his lips and said, "Don't worry, Sasuke is much stronger than you think. Believe it or not, even if we all die, he will still live well. Us being overly protective of him may not necessarily be a good thing for his growth." Jishuei's face darkened. "Is there anyone who comforts people like you?" Itachi said lightly, "I hope so." As time passed, Sasuke, who was waiting in the forest, became more and more impatient. "Damn it, why haven't those guys from Amatsukami arrived yet? Are they trying to trick me?" At this moment, the sound of gentle footsteps came from the shadows. Sasuke's eyes narrowed and immediately opened his Manjikyu Sharingan as if he was facing a formidable enemy, vigilantly looking in the direction of the footsteps. After a while, a figure slowly walked out of the shadows. The figure was wearing the signature black cloak of Amatsukami, a mask with a flame pattern on his face, exquisite black leather gloves on his hands, and a pair of leather boots on his feet. Not a single inch of his skin was exposed. Homasubi, Sasuke's face sank. With the insight of his Manjikyu Sharingan, he can naturally distinguish the cloak, mask, and other clothing worn by the other party. The cloak, mask, and other items of clothing are very exquisite, and they even faintly exude a mysterious power that can isolate the perception of others. The flame pattern on the mask undoubtedly indicates that the identity of the other party is Homasubi of Amatsukami. That is, one of the two Homasubi of Amatsukami who attacked the Uchiha clan. Which one could it be? As Sasuke observed carefully, he pondered inwardly. As far as he knows, one of the two Homasubi of Amatsukami who attacked the Uchiha clan, the male Homasubi, the owner of the Red Susanoo, is the culprit who defeated his father and dug out his father's Manjikyu Sharingan. On the other hand, the female Homasubi, the owner of the Golden Susanoo, defeated Jishuei and Shinichi, the two Uchiha clan's strongest by herself, and suppressed all the strong people of the Uchiha clan. At this time, the Homasubi on the opposite side slowly took off the mask on his face, lifted the hood, and revealed his face. Under the cold moonlight in the forest, Sasuke found that the Homasubi wearing the black cloak of Amatsukami is actually a girl who doesn't look much older than him. Immediately, his pupils shrank, and he asked, "You are Uchiha Inferno." The reason why he knew the name Uchiha Inferno was because he heard the conversation between Jishuei and the hungry ghost path Chillabai when he attacked Akatsuki last time. He knew that the female Homasubi of Amatsukami, the person he used the transformation technique to disguise himself as, was called Uchiha Inferno. There is no doubt that the person who came to pick up Sasuke is none other than Hyojin, who is controlling the fire clone. Hearing Sasuke say the name of his fire clone, Hyojin was a little surprised. "You have heard of me?" Sasuke nodded while sizing up the man with an absent-minded gaze. From Sasuke's perspective, the Homasubi of Amatsukami in front of him is about 17 or 18 years old. Looking at the fineness of her skin, she might even be younger. Her appearance is extremely exquisite, like a work of art. Although there are no traces of makeup on her face, even her soft long hair is casually tied behind her head. There's a kind of attraction that makes people can't help but want to explore. Especially that cold and mysterious temperament. Just standing there quietly makes people dare not look down on it, can't ignore it, and will instinctively treat it with caution. First update, please recommend, monthly votes. Chapter 1142. In the Distance. After discovering that the person in charge of testing Sasuke was Uchiha Senpai, Itachi breathed a long sigh of relief. So it's Yami Senpai. That's great. Itachi himself accepted the test of Uchiha Senpai before joining Amatsukami. So for him, Uchiha Senpai can be regarded as his guide and teacher. Shinichi smiled and said, "Since the boss sent that guy, Senpai, then we don't have to worry anymore." Jisue also nodded in agreement. Compared to other unfamiliar members of Amatsukami, they obviously trust Uchiha Senpai, who is also from the Uchiha clan. After all, Uchiha Senpai can be regarded as an old friend of theirs. In the forest, while Sasuke was looking at Hyojin, Hyojin was also looking at Sasuke. Seeing Sasuke carrying a backpack and dressed like he was about to go on a long journey, he said coldly, "You seem to be well prepared, but if you can't pass my test, it doesn't matter how well prepared you are." Sasuke frowned. "Tell me, what is the test?" Hyojin slowly activated the Manjikyu Sharingan in his eye sockets. "Do you recognize this pair of eyes?" After seeing the lines on Hyojin's Manjikyu Sharingan, Sasuke's face suddenly became gloomy, and full of killing intent, he said, "Damn it, how dare you use my father's Sharingan?" Yes, Hyojin didn't deny it, and while putting on the mask again, he said, "The eyes in my eye sockets are your father's Manjikyu Sharingan. So the test is very simple. As long as you defeat me, this pair of Manjikyu Sharingan will be yours." "Don't you have Manjikyu Sharingan yourself? Why do you want to use my father's eyes?" If it had been someone else using Fuyue's Manjikyu Sharingan, Sasuke would naturally have been furious and directly attacked. But he knows that Uchiha Yen himself has Manjikyu Sharingan, so while he is angry, his heart is also full of doubts. Hyojin raised his head slightly and said coldly, "I'm happy." "Damn it." Sasuke gritted his teeth and angrily placed his backpack on the ground. "How can you trample on my father's dignity?" Swish, before he finished speaking, Sasuke's figure flashed, and he pounced on Hyojin. Hyojin grinned and went up to meet him. Clang, clang, clang. In a split second, an ear-piercing sound of metal clashing rang out from the originally quiet forest under the night sky. Both sides were extremely fast, bathed in the cold-toned moonlight, like two ghosts, constantly shuttling through the mottled forest. But Sasuke's figure was easier to recognize because there was always a glimmer of lightning around his body. In just a moment, Sasuke, who was fighting, felt a chill in his heart. At this time, he had already used the thunder release stimulation method, and his speed and strength had been greatly improved. On the other hand, the opponent did not seem to use any secret techniques, but his speed was not slower than him. Not only that, but he also found that the opponent's physical skills were very exquisite. It's not Niji's precise style, nor is it Shao Li's bold and unconstrained style, but it's a sharp and changeable style that even Kuroto, who has the Manjikyu Sharingan, can't fathom. Clang. After crossing each other again, Sasuke, who landed on the ground, panted heavily, and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. It was obviously a simple physical confrontation, but it gave him a huge pressure of life and death. He even felt that such a short fight was more tiring than using the Manjikyu Sharingan's pupil technique. On the opposite side, Hyojin said lightly, "The basic skills are barely passable." Passable? Sasuke was irritated again. He could imagine the disdain on Hyojin's face under the mask. Hyojin continued, "But if that's all you have, you can't get back your father's Sharingan." ZZ. At this time, Sasuke's right palm shone with a brilliant purple lightning, and he said coldly, "You see how I break your mask and take back my father's Sharingan?" Hyojin's tone was still cold. "I'm looking forward to it." Bang! In an instant, a large part of the ground under Sasuke's feet collapsed, and under the push of the reaction force, Sasuke's whole body was like a purple lightning pouncing toward Hyojin. At this moment, Sasuke, who was flying towards Hyojin, suddenly looked stagnant. because he found that the fire demon on the opposite side faced his Chidori surprise attack. He stood in the same place without dodging, and the figure bathed in the moonlight was full of a mysterious and hazy feeling, as if it was not so real. Almost at the same time, he also felt a chakra invading his brain, and his heart suddenly trembled. Is it an illusion? Oh no, I'm in an illusion. As a result, Sasuke's heart, which was originally moving forward, was suddenly filled with hesitation and apprehension. Not only was his momentum completely gone, even his movements were a little distorted. In an instant, Sasuke pounced in front of the fire demon, and just when he judged that the fire demon in front of him was most likely a shadow clone, or simply an illusion, the fire demon suddenly accurately grabbed his right hand that was using Chidori. Sasuke was taken aback. You? Hyojin pinched Sasuke's right wrist hard and kicked Sasuke, casually kicking Sasuke to the ground. You can even be distracted during a surprise attack. This is the first time I've seen an idiot like you. Sasuke, who was pinched by Hyojin's wrist and kicked by Hyojin, was shocked and angry. Was I not in an illusion just now? There is no doubt that Hyojin did cast an illusion on Sasuke just now, but the purpose of casting the illusion was not to make Sasuke fall into the trap, but to interfere with Sasuke's judgment. Because with his attainments in illusion, it is impossible for him to instantly subdue Uchiha, who also has the Manjikyu Sharingan. Not to mention that Sasuke is the reincarnation of Indra. But as soon as Sasuke felt that he was attacked by the illusion, he immediately panicked. Because in his eyes, this Homosuke of Amatsukami in front of him was a strong person who had defeated Jishuei and Shinichi, the two family Manjikyu Sharingan. So his illusion must be extraordinary. In addition, the temperament of Hyojin's fire release clone was too mysterious and illusory, so he didn't carefully examine it at all and subconsciously thought that he had been tricked. Realizing that he had been deceived by the little trick of Homosuke, Sasuke suddenly became furious, and regardless of the consumption of his pupil power, he immediately activated Susanoo and broke free from Hyojin's arm. At this time, Hyojin also activated Susanoo, and his experience in controlling Susanoo was obviously far above Sasuke. So although the purple and red Susanoo were activated at the same time, Hyojin Susanoo directly penetrated Sasuke's Susanoo and held Sasuke in his hand again. Here's the second update, asking for recommendation votes and monthly votes. Also, thank you to the students who gave gifts today. Thank you, everyone. Chapter 1143. Under the moonlight, like a silver waterfall, a red and a purple Susanoo appeared at the same time, alarming many birds and beasts in the forest, making the whole forest seem to come alive. Sasuke, who was held in the hand of Hyojin Susanoo, was stunned. He didn't expect that he, who had launched Susanoo first, would be easily restrained by the opponent, and he didn't expect that Susanoo could launch an attack at the same time as it was being activated. Unwilling to admit defeat so easily, he immediately struggled with all his might. But even if he used all his strength, making the veins on his neck bulge, and his face turn red, he couldn't shake the Susanoo that was holding his body. Hyojin glanced at Sasuke, who was struggling in vain, and said lightly, "There may be someone in this world who can tear apart Susanoo with both hands, but it is definitely not you." Sasuke stopped struggling. His face was full of shame and anger. At this time, Hyojin urged Susanoo to throw Sasuke to the ground and said in a cold tone, "Don't think of using the Manjikyu Sharingan Jutsu every time you get angry." Sasuke, who was thrown to the ground, immediately dissipated his Susanoo. Kuroto continued, "It is important to cherish the pupillary powers, but you can't be overcautious and hesitant because of this. You can't afford to be distracted on the battlefield. If you lose your life, what's the point of keeping the pupillary powers?" Sasuke was surprised. Kuroto doesn't understand how Homosubi guessed his thoughts. Just now, he wanted to use the Manjikyu Sharingan's pupil technique because of his pupillary technique, but he had too many misgivings, causing him to miss the best opportunity to use the pupil technique. "Learn to be decisive," Hyojin said while dispelling his Susanoo. Sasuke got up from the ground and rushed towards Hyojin with a roar. I don't need you to teach me. Oomph. Hyojin turned around and sent Sasuke flying with a kick as he let out a cold snort. Sasuke, who fell to the ground again, discovered that several important acupoints on his shoulders, waist, and legs had been pierced by slender senbon needles. That was why he couldn't exert any strength and couldn't dodge in time. So he was easily kicked away by Hyojin. Soon, Sasuke reacted and knew that it was when he was imprisoned by Hyojin Susu. Hyojin said faintly, "You're surprisingly slow." Bang! Sasuke, who had fallen to the ground, punched the ground heavily. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! At this time, Hyojin walked up to Sasuke, grabbed his collar, and lifted him from the ground. Then he punched him hard in the stomach and said in a cold tone, "You're giving up so soon?" Sasuke, who was in so much pain that even his expression began to distort, said unwillingly, "I'm not your opponent." Trash! Hyojin threw Sasuke to the ground and then stepped on Sasuke's face. Being stepped on by Hyojin, Sasuke was ashamed and angry. But he knew that he was really no match for the fire demon in front of him. In the fight, just now, he had used all his strength, but he was not sure whether the other party was serious or not. He felt that he had been completely seen through by the other party. Letting go of Sasuke, Hyojin turned directly and walked away from the village. Sasuke, who was lying on the ground, was sad alone. He thought that he had failed the test of Amatsukami and missed the opportunity to take back his father's Manjikyu Sharingan with his own hands. Hyojin, whose figure gradually disappeared into the shadows, kept walking and said, "How long are you going to lie down? Hurry up and keep up." Sasuke was stunned for a moment and suddenly realized that he still had a chance, so he didn't even bother to wipe the dust on his face. He quickly got up and picked up the backpack on the ground beside him and followed Hyojin obediently. He even stammered, Thank you, in the distance. Watching Sasuke leave with Hyojin so obediently, Shinichi looked incredulous and said, "Hey, Sasuke has never been so respectful to me. Is it because I didn't beat him up like flame?" Itachi and Jishue looked at each other and were somewhat speechless. In their minds, with Sasuke's proud personality, after being beaten up by Yin, he should have harbored hatred in his heart. However, they never thought that Sasuke would actually be so obedient after being beaten up so miserably. In fact, they who dote on Sasuke too much don't know that Sasuke is very respectful and worships the strong. In the original time and space, Kakashi's guidance to Sasuke can be said to be meticulous and dedicated. But Sasuke still despised Kakashi, and he knew that Orochimaru coveted his body in Sharingan. But he betrayed the village and joined Orochimaru's camp without hesitation, and always maintained enough respect for Orochimaru. Until he personally defeated Orochimaru, this respect gradually dissipated. This alone is enough to prove that Sasuke, who is growing up, has an instinctive admiration for the strong who can crush him. Whether it is Itachi, Jishue, or even Shinichi, in their usual training with Sasuke, they spoil Sasuke too much. In order to take care of Sasuke's self-esteem, they will deliberately go easy on him, causing Sasuke to misjudge their strength from a young age. It seems that his elder brothers only have this level of misjudgment, and he also has the illusion that he is so strong. Therefore, even if he is as sharp as Itachi, he did not notice that Sasuke will actually be obedient for a long as long as he is beaten up badly. In the original time and space, Sasuke was even convinced by Naruto because he was beaten up badly, and even Otsutsuki Indra and Otsutsuki Azura had been entangled for 1,000 years. One must know that many generations of reincarnation have not been able to do this. As if thinking of something, Jishue suddenly asked, "If Sasuke just leaves like this, I'm afraid it will be hard to explain to the village, right?" At this time, Itachi took out a document. This is the travel permit signed by the elder. I will officially hand it over to the village tomorrow. The final right to explain whether or not it is a betrayal of the village lies with Naruto. As long as one's status is high enough and the relationship is strong enough, It is not a big deal to leave the village without permission. In the beginning, Jiraiya used travel as an excuse and wandered outside the village for a long time, while Tsunade did not inform the village and left the village to relax for many years. The reason why the two of them can be so unscrupulous is because they have the protection of the 3 generations as Naruto, and their own strength is enough to deter some gossip. Now that Hyojin is Naruto, it is a matter of minutes for him to issue a travel permit for Sasuke. As long as he says that it is a travel, no one in Mai can determine that Sasuke left the village without permission. Third update, please recommend votes, monthly votes. Chapter 1144. Sasuke followed Hyojin quickly and peeked at Hyojin from time to time. Feeling Sasuke's peeping, Hyojin was speechless for a while. Just say what you want to say. Sasuke quickly asked, what should I call you in the future? Should I call you Fire Demon, Uchiha Flame, or Senpai or Sister? Sister. Hyojin's mouth twitched and immediately said, just call me Sensei. Yes, Sensei. Sasuke did not question Hyojin and obediently obeyed. After a while, he asked again, Sensei, when is the next test? Is the test still in the form of a competition? Hyojin nodded. Well, as for when, let's talk about it in a few days. As a ninja, you have to learn to sum up the reasons for failure. If you can't beat me, then don't even think about getting your father's Sharingan back. Yes. Sasuke quickly responded. He was not stupid. He had already seen that Hyojin did not have any malicious intentions towards him, at least not openly. Although his tone was cold and even a little alienated, he was indeed teaching him. Moreover, he could also feel that the other party seemed to be a little absent-minded, as if he was thinking about something else. After a moment of silence, Sasuke showed a look of hesitation. Hyojin glanced at Sasuke. What do you want to ask? After sorting out his thoughts, Sasuke asked curiously, Sensei, when you used the illusion on me just now, why did you only interfere with me and not let me completely fall into the illusion? According to common sense, in that case, letting me completely fall into the illusion is the safest response, right? Hyojin's face darkened. Think about it yourself. Sasuke said, I thought about it for a long time, but I still can't figure it out. Why did you choose such a risky method? Hyojin said lightly. Then did I achieve my goal? Yes. Sasuke's face was filled with shame. If he had been careful, he would have been able to tell that he wasn't under an illusion. However, he thought that the other party was a powerhouse who had defeated Jishuei and Shinichi, so the other party's illusion skills must be far superior to his. That was why he made the wrong judgment. The purpose of illusions is to interfere with the enemy. As long as we can achieve this, it's enough to achieve the tactical goal. Why must we make the opponent completely fall into the illusion? After a pause, Hyojin said, means are means, and the goal is the goal. Don't confuse it. I'm only doing this because I believe that it will be effective for you. This wasn't Hyojin's nonsense. He knew that his fire escape avatar's temperament had changed due to the Inescape chakra's increasing strength, as well as the successful training of the Yin Seal. It was very suitable for using illusion techniques, so he chose to use illusion techniques to attack Sasuke, trying to interfere with Sasuke's judgment. It's just that even Kuroda didn't expect the effect to be so good. Obviously, in the previous battle with Itachi, Sasuke's Jinjutsu caused his face to be covered in dirt, so he had some trauma towards Jinjutsu. That's why he had such a drastic reaction just now. Listening to Hyojin's explanation, Sasuke nodded his head. He now realized that Jinjutsu is his weakness. At this time, Hyojin retracted his gaze and said in a flat tone, it's obvious that you are Uchiha who has the Manjikyu Sharingan, but your Jinjutsu is so weak, really incompetent. Sasuke's face suddenly turned red. After a while, despite being full of shame, Sasuke couldn't help but observe Hyojin, who seemed to be full of secrets from head to toe. Seeing Hyojin wrapped his body tightly, not even a finger was exposed, his face suddenly showed a thoughtful expression. One must know that the hands are very important for a ninja. because the sensitivity of the hands is directly related to the accuracy of the throwing of ninja tools, as well as the speed of hand seals. So normal ninjas rarely wear gloves. Even if they do wear gloves, most of them are the kind of gloves that expose the fingers or simply wrapped with bandages. If it's not a taijutsu type ninja who uses their fist to fight, they rarely wear leather gloves like Suijin's. Moving his gaze down, Sasuke focused on the long leather boots worn by Hyojin's feet, which is also very rare in the land of fire where the climate is mild. Even if the place we're going is very cold, but there is no need to wear such clothes near the village, right? She must be trying to hide something by dressing like this. Is it related to her body? The more she tries to hide, the more he wants to find out. Human curiosity is like this. In the face of the mysterious homusubi of Amatsukami, Sasuke's curiosity is even more aroused to the peak. After a long time, he finally couldn't help but ask the doubts in his heart. Sensei, why do you wear this kind of gloves? It will have a great impact on hand seals, won't it? Hyojin was a little annoyed. He glanced at Sasuke coldly and thought to himself, what's wrong with this kid? He doesn't usually talk much. Why is he asking so many questions now? Seeing that Hyojin didn't answer, Sasuke continued. I know that the standard equipment in Amatsukami is only cloaks and masks, not gloves and leather boots, so before Sasuke finished speaking, Hyojin stopped and asked, you seem to be full of curiosity about me. Sasuke didn't deny it. He looked straight at Hyojin and nodded. Hyojin said coldly, beat me, and I will tell you whatever you want to know. If you can't beat me, then shut up. Sasuke was silent for a while, then said resolutely, I will definitely beat you. Ignoring Sasuke, Suijin's figure flickered as he flew towards the eastern coastline of the Land of Fire, while muttering in his heart, Humph, Sasuke, this little brat still noticed me. Hyojin obviously underestimated Sasuke's sharpness.